All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the July meeting of the Trumbull Town Council. Would everybody kindly rise for a moment of silence and recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance. During our moment of silence, let's remember the folks who were tragically taken from us at the terrible floods in Texas. Thank you. I pledge allegiance.
Flag. United States of America. To the republic.
Stands.
Under God. Indivisible. Liberty.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, take the roll, please.
Mike Buswell.
Here.
Mary Isaac. Here. Michael Colahan.
Here.
Bill Mecca.
Here.
Ann Sather.
Here.
Jennifer Winchell.
Here.
Veronica Lenzen.
Here.
Richard Wolf.
Here.
Jason Marsh.
Here.
Anthony Dorsey.
Here.
Ashley Gaudiano.
Here.
Carl Massaro.
Here.
John Foreman.
Here.
Joe Pifko.
Here.
Scott Wick.
Here.
Joy Cologne.
Here.
Steve Lemoyne.
Here.
Kelly Malazzi.
Here.
Tony Cinto. Thomas Whitmore.
Here.
Nicole Satin.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum and a full house. We welcome Mr. Tom Whitmoyer, representative from District 7. Once again, happy to have Tom amongst us for his wit and wisdom. Council should have seen the minutes from our June meeting, so I'll call for a motion to approve our minutes from the June meeting.
Make the motion.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion, amendments? Hearing none, can we approve them by unanimous consent? Thank you very much. The minutes are approved. We will move to public comment. We have an ambitious agenda this evening. I have 20 names signed up on the sheet, and as you know, I'm usually quite amenable to having folks step up and speak if you're so moved to do so. I would like to put a limit on our public comment this evening for 1 hour. That equates to about 3 minutes per person who's signed up. So if we can adhere to that, I think we can move along quickly and people can be heard, and you're free to state what you need to say. So with that, we'll start with our first speaker is Marty Isaac. Please give your name and address.
Good evening. It's Marty Isaac, 50 Skating Pond Road here in Trumbull. Good evening. I appreciate this opportunity to address the council. I'm here to speak about the Senior Center. My guess is one of the proposals for the Senior Center will be approved this evening. Unfortunately, I anticipate it will be a plan that reduces the scope of the project. I don't understand why you would choose to limit the scope of this project. The building committee has spent years identifying the needs of the seniors and have spec'd the building to meet those needs. Why are you second-guessing them? Is there some reason you believe you better understand the needs of seniors than the building committee? I hope that during tonight's discussion, you specifically ask which plan the center director and the members of the building committee believe best address the needs of our seniors. That should be on the record. Saving money is important, but saving money while cutting services is not a savings, that's a loss. You will be cutting services to seniors. We just completed the budget cycle. The town council was presented with a proposed budget of $220 million. What were the proposed cuts made by this town council? Did anyone here propose to cut leaf pickups? That would have saved many millions of dollars over 20 years. Or maybe reduce the number of services our recreation department provides. Did anyone want to cut any money from the $130 million school budget? The answer, of course, to this is no. Not one of you made a motion to cut a penny from the budget. What is equally frustrating to me, virtually every one of you voted in favor of a multi-million-dollar contract just a few months ago to enhance a field at Indian Ledge. This was in addition to the millions of dollars voted on to improve the high school turf field. How can you vote for millions of dollars to refurbish an old softball field when the town already has more fields than anyone can count, but against a full-size gym for our seniors, literally the only such facility for seniors? I think it is extremely important that everyone in our town understand who votes for the original option recommended by the building committee and who votes for the more limited option that reduces the scope of the center and limits services available to our seniors. Please stop putting the needs of our seniors aside. They should not be deemed optional or secondary. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Isaac. Next speaker is Christine Alaris.
Good evening. My name is Christine L. Aris. I live at 4955 Madison Avenue. And in full disclosure, I am a member of the Community Facilities Building Committee. I joined that committee, perhaps about a year ago to fill a vacancy when somebody, a longtime member of the committee, had moved elsewhere. I'm here to similarly make some brief comments related to the resolutions before you today related to the senior center. One thing I'd like to share, about a little over a week ago, I think it was July 1st, I was in my car and I was listening to NPR, and the radio show 1A was doing an in-depth story about an epidemic of loneliness in the United States. Loneliness and social isolation is a significant problem for people of all ages, but it's a much greater magnitude problem for senior citizens. One thing that this show talked about was the notion of a third place. And for anyone who's not familiar with this notion, the idea is first places are your home. Second places are your workplace, or if you're a student, your school. And a third place is a place in public that's generally accessible that you go to on a regular basis to have some social interaction and hopefully have some sort of routine and something that expands your social network, and that is a great opportunity to stave off loneliness. To some degree, parks are third places. Even a Starbucks is a third place. They famously called themselves a third place. Libraries are excellent third places. And this show was talking about a diminishing amount or accessibility of third places, particularly ones where people don't have to spend money in order to be there. But as I thought about it more, for senior citizens who are mostly retired, they don't have a second place. So your senior center becomes effectively your second place and your third place. Your place to have a routine, your place to get the interaction you need, the place to do some physical fitness perhaps, to have a card game, to do whatever it is that helps you get through the day and gives you that sense of normalcy and staves off loneliness. The committee has put forward, one last point. Currently, as everyone knows, Priscilla Place, that building, has a great number of limitations, and those limitations are actually putting a limitation on the number of seniors who have the ability to access or who may choose to not go there because of the dinginess or because of the other factors that occur. The committee's put forth a design, and now several designs that we've contemplated, that are tailor-made to meet those needs of those seniors, to effectively combat loneliness, but also to make, to fill gaps and to provide a whole host of social services that are really important to this population. And I sincerely hope that, one of those options is able to move forward to the general public and the voters via referendum. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ron Foligno.
Good evening. My name is Ron Foligno. I live at 48 Arden Road in Trumbull. First of all, thank you all for your efforts in this, and I think I have a tough act, two people to follow. So I have a lot of disjoint points. So please don't look for any real cohesive following through. But there's a lot of points that are mentioned. The first of which is that the Board of Finance, and I think they were the last people who had to recommend this to go to the town council to vote on. They unequivocally voted on it, as did all the appropriate groups before them. So that's just one of the points. Each party, by the way, as I hope the public knows, had a representative on the Community Facilities Building Committee. So therefore, they had the immediate input and feedback of what was really happening at our meeting relative to your meeting. I forgot full disclosure. I'm on the Building Committee. I'm also the chairman of the Commission on Aging. So enough said on that. One of the things that was said by George Estrada, he said a while ago, if I'm not mistaken, it would take about $15 to $17 million to bring the current senior center up to ADA compliant and to make it relatively safe with all the little things that could possibly affect one's health in that building. The cost of a new building was $32 million. Basically, it's been said before, and I think one of the speakers this evening brought this point to light, that 1.5% of a tax dollar would go to, of every tax dollar would go towards a new building, if it were to come about. I think also it was said that it would add possibly $2+ million a year to the budget if it were bonded for 20 or 30 years. Forgive me on the numbers or the specifics, but it's not a great number that we're speaking of. We're speaking of 30 million or whatever. We're actually looking at maybe 2.5 million, possibly, even as high as possibly 3 a year, which isn't a great thing for a $220 million budget. The tax dollars, we spoke about that one. And everyone, by the way, will use that building at one point or one time or another in their lifetime. The life expectancy in that building is about 50 years before we start to do any major renovations, perhaps. How many of you will be here in 50 years? I know I won't. There was something that was of concern with the people about noise with the community aspect of the building. I did a little research on it, and I went to the police department. I tried to find out online also how many calls were actually dispatched for noise after a community activity in a town building, if you will. Basketball after one of the schools, a play or whatever. Noise factor that might have come about by teenagers and whatnot. There was 0. So I think because that got out early on, it got some hold on people's minds. There's no truth to that. It's all hypothetical. The next thing, school taxes. School taxes are continuous. They will not stop. The senior center, if passed, will end in 20 to 30 years, and then normal building costs and upkeep will kick in. Okay, where are we at now?
Mr. Felino, can we move along? We have a lot of speakers
I
behind
don't
you.
understand. I get 1 or 2 more points here. Many stupid notes here. Basically, the voters were denied their right to decide. I think that goes without statement. At no point did the Republican council members request alternative plans or raise the concerns they would have voiced that night. Nothing prior to that evening came to light. And as I said before, they each had a member of their parties on our committee who were contributing people with good minds and good points. We didn't all agree with everything, but we came to a general consensus. I still like the original plan. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Next speaker is Mike Ganino.
Mike Ganino, Pat Ganino, 3 Canterbury Lane. I purchased this T-shirt a while ago supporting everything Trumbull, and it was for the schools. Of course, we support schools. Ironically, the Trumbull Senior Center is not listed on the back of this shirt as a place to go in Trumbull, but it's wonderful that the Trumbull Town Hall gazebo was. Many seniors who utilize the senior center for various reasons at times have great difficulty negotiating the hallways. Making sense of the elevator placement and stop differential is difficult at best. The open water sources, found asbestos, animals on and in the rooftop, water that pours through the cafeteria wall, possible insect infestation, very limited adequate space are a clear tragedy. The 100-plus former elementary school is not habitable for our children, yet seniors are relegated to utilizing this space. Our incredible staff is handicapped by the same issues which create a myriad of problematic problems. The number of entrances and exits provide security issues. Nearly impossible to monitor the facility due to 3 floors. Direct access to rooms is difficult due to its a maze-like configuration. The lunchroom is inadequate in size and shape to accommodate large luncheon groups. The 2 window air conditioning units are inadequate to the physical layout. The air conditioning systems are massively expensive, as is the heating. We, the senior community, plead with the town council, specifically the Republican majority, not to provide another gut punch or another gutting of a building committee recommendation as they did approximately 10 years ago. Trumbull senior citizens constitute a significant portion of taxpayers who, through our taxes, support every initiative, including the new buildings. We request and demand the Town Council move the unanimous and bipartisan recommendation of the Building Committee, Board of Finance, and Town Council Legislative Subcommittee. It's long overdue that Trumbull citizens be allowed our constitutional and town charter rights to self-determination that is allowing citizens to vote either yea or nay on a November referendum. Many have served our country defending our Constitution and voting rights, with many giving their lives. Hopefully those lives will be honored tonight. Finally, the myth that our present first select person, Tesoro, and Democrats were responsible for the senior center recommendation of 10 years ago not going forward is a lie and a fabrication. The then Republican Town Council majority let the recommendation die, failing to take action. My heart aches when I consider the past as prologue, but I'm hopeful that the respect for seniors and every Trumbull citizen will guide the Town Council to move forward on the recommendation to a November referendum. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ganino. Next is Mr. Nate Gross.
Nate Gross for Canterbury Lane. I have previously sent my remarks by email as well. Members of the council, our seniors deserve the best. The question here should not be how little can we get away spending on them. It should be, what do our seniors need? The original senior and community center design meets our seniors' needs and should not be overlooked. They have contributed to our town for decades, and I don't think this is too much to ask. Also, the best way to save money in the long term is to have a senior center built well enough to last at least until I'm an old man. The cheaper the design, the more we'll be spending on upkeep and maintenance until the cost will exceed any savings we might have made from the design, and the sooner it'll just have to be replaced again. In 30 years, is this really a process that we want to go through again, spending another 10 years trying to debate where and how to build another new senior center? Please vote to move the original design to referendum. Our seniors deserve the best.
Thank you, Mr. Gross. Next is Milton Chin.
Milton Chin, 15 Oxon Hill Road. I expect town councilmen to be thoughtful as their actions affect many citizens. However, what I see are the Republicans at their clumsy best to follow up a much-needed project. First, they tried dog ate my homework ploy. They claimed they only had 3 weeks to evaluate the Grace Church cost estimate. They were shocked at the $7 million bump from Hardy Lane. All they had to do was have a 10-minute conversation with the architect. They would have discovered that the Grace Church property is more difficult to build on as compared to Hardy Lane. Add in demolition, inflation, and property isolation costs, and they would have found out the difference in costs was insignificant. Did this conversation happen? Nope. They shot from their hip, and thus we are here tonight. Then came the infamous $700 per square foot target, a number New London was able to achieve with their new community center. The Republicans' math skills are questionable at best. Soft costs and site prep costs amount to $12 million before the first square foot is laid. Work the numbers, and the Republicans could have figured out a $700 square foot senior center cannot be built on Grace Church property. Again, a simple 10-minute conversation with the architect would have saved a lot of time. The truth is, building on the Grace Church property masks the true cost of the senior center. The Republicans spin this as seniors wanting an exorbitant senior center and wants us to accept a smaller and more humble senior center. They thank us for our tax dollars that fund town schools and youth activities. Then in the next breath, they tell us to sit down and shut up, as they alone will determine the size and cost of the senior center. Look into the future. Suppose Booth Hill School needs to be rebuilt. The Republicans will be the first to solicit support from the seniors, who comprise 46% of the voters. So in addition to bad math skills, the Republicans don't know who butters the bread. Thankfully, we can rely on Vicky Tesoro to give us the senior center we deserve. If the Party of Elephants places option 7 on the ballot, then seniors need to take action. We must re-elect Vicky, and hopefully she can migrate design back to the full 30,000 square foot design. At the same time, vote double D for town council. This means only vote for the 2 Democratic town council candidates in your district, and no more. Throw away your 3rd vote. This will guarantee Vicky will have the fresh horses on town council to clean up after the Elephant Act.
Thank you, Mr. Chen. Next is Richard White.
Good evening, Richard White, 169 Churchill Road. If the town council is going to move forward with resolution TC 30-128, 39, and 40, I would like to see restrictions on the scope of the project before I might hesitantly support option 7. Please place limits on the building committee's ability to use outside grants, future sale of Priscilla Place, future sale of Hardy Lane, or dipping into the general fund to return to the original design or expand the gymnasium. Any newfound money should be used only to reduce the amount that is bonded and not increase the scope of the project. Ideally, I'd like to see the town council pass an ordinance that no additional structures or significant expansion be made to the property without a 2/3 vote of a current or future town council. Please concoct and pass this ordinance tonight. The original design in all 3 options meet the current and projected program space needed by the senior center. The chairman of the building committee, the committee's architect, and our senior center director have all stated this more than once over the last few meetings. Go back to the drawings for Old Churchill Road, Hardy Lane, and now Grace Church, and the interior spaces have remained fairly constant. I've been leaning towards supporting option 7 and have stated this a few times publicly now. My main reasons are the reduction in impact to the neighbors. Option 7 completely removes the need for blasting and removal of 45,000 cubic yards of rock and fill. This would have been a major operation that was never presented to planning and zoning and has not been adequately discussed. While they're still not adequate, option 7 increases the buffer to the north with Edgewood Avenue neighbors. As an aside, now is not the time for value engineering. Please leave funding for these items in place, especially the functional and aesthetic buffer items. Option 7 moves some parking from the back of the property to the front of the property, reducing traffic to the back of the property. Cutting the basketball dimensions of the gym in half while leaving enough room for 2 pickleball courts and half-court basketball meets the projected needs of the senior center and greatly reduces the opportunity for heavy parks and rec activity at night and on the weekends. Recently, including tonight, multiple building committee members have asked about future expansion. Members of the public, including tonight, have asked about expansion, pointing out that the original design allowed for almost doubling the ground floor area. Tom pointed out, the architect pointed out 2 or 3 areas where option 7 could be expanded. Options 4 and 5 include a freestanding, full-size basketball court at the rear of the property. All of this is scaring the crap out of the neighbors and is why I've not fully endorsed option 7. If the town of Trumbull needs more indoor parks and rec space, or if the town of Trumbull needs a pool in the future, then the Grace Church property is the wrong location. Find a site that can be expanded in the future, start with the senior center, add a full-size gymnasium later, and add aquatics facility after that. It's probably too late for this idea. My biggest concern at this point is interpretation of our charter and locking down the scope of the project post-referendum. At the last building committee meeting, the building committee chairman stated that if the bids come back higher than the referendum, then they need to redo the referendum. This is true. The committee's architect commented that they could also rebid the project. This is also true as long as the scope does not significantly change, and this is where value engineering should be applied if needed. What blew me away was a town attorney's comment that they could finish the project with general funds. How is that possibly allowed under our town charter? At referendum, we'll be voting on a bonding dollar amount, but there's also an implied scope. Once passed, the town council and building committee cannot go over the dollar amount, and they cannot change the scope. If the bids come back over to 20%, might happen, the building committee cannot add to the scope. If the bids come back 20% over, which recently happened with our Veterans Center, the building committee cannot reduce the scope. If our town employees find a $3 million grant, the building committee cannot add to the scope. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. White. Next is Mary Sklanka. Welcome.
Good evening, Town Council. I've spoken here before and written letters to all of you. We moved to town 3.5 years ago, and to be close to our grandchildren, but we literally knew no one in town, no one. So the senior center has been a godsend to us. We've made so many good friends and are keeping active. Many of our friends are in the room tonight. But I would just like to say that the new senior community center should be designed to serve our town for the next 50 to 100 years. Let's make it the best it can be. And I think that the original plan was the best. In the bigger scheme, in a $30 million project, is saving $4 or maybe $5 million now going to be a regret when in a few years down the road, we should have done this, we should have done that. Taking away square footage and storage space is a mistake. Taking away items that add to the aesthetics and functionality is wrong. Having a head-to-head pickleball court is not practical if there's not a dividing partition. 3 courts are better than 2. If you ever saw the number of people that play pickleball, the wait time is so long, and it's really fun. And especially in the winter when all the outside people come in. A fitness room should be large enough, to hold adequate equipment so that we don't have to go to Planet Fitness or something like that where we're not necessarily comfortable. Our schools are great. Let's make our senior center great too, and one that attracts even more people. Let our seniors keep active and age gracefully in an atmosphere where their physical and social needs are met in a beautiful, safe facility that is attractive to participants and the neighborhood as well. Do the right thing, and please vote for the original plan to go to referendum. Thank you so much.
Mary. Next speaker is Marla Rubin.
Good evening, Town Council. Due to nobody's fault that's still alive, excuse me. Due to nobody's fault that's still alive, Trumbull does not have commercial space on our main roads as they are filled with mostly residences. So we have to work with what we have and what we own. Currently, 30% of Trumbull's population is over the age of 60, and that number is projected to grow. The current center lacks adequate space and modern amenities. Every town around Trumbull has more than adequate facilities. Excuse me, even Easton, Connecticut, with a population of 7,600, has a nicer building. I recently went to check out the senior center in Fairfield. It's a beautiful and well-maintained building. The director, Julie DeMarco, was nice enough to give me a tour and informed me that they have a large amount of Trumbull residents as members. I think it's very sad that the senior population of Trumbull goes to other towns because they have better accommodations. The senior project has been in the works for 10 years, and the time has come for it to move forward. Let's invest in the people who helped build our community. We owe it to them and our future selves to build a space that honors them with dignity, inclusion, and care. It should not be decided by a group of 20 people of the town council, but by the 37,000 plus population of Trumbull. We implore you to vote yes for the referendum in the November 2025 election.
Thank you. Next speaker is Marlene Silverstone.
Good job, Marla.
Good evening. As an abutter and a trained civil engineer with over 30 years of construction management experience, I've continued to try to get answers to what the town intends to build on 5958 Main Street. I had hopes that the town would be the responsible developer per the First Selectman's June 2024 quote in the patch, which was the acquisition of the Grace Church property is a proactive measure to control development and uphold the community standards that Trumbull residents value. Unfortunately, the town has not shown themselves yet to be a responsible developer. Instead, I'm afraid that the town is on its way to creating a public nuisance. I am in favor of responsible development, which is not what I see from the current process. Architects develop plans based on their clients' wants and the applicable codes. In this case, the client is the town represented by the Community Facilities Building Committee. From what I see, this committee continues to try to fit a building that is too large for this site. It is not providing the proper direction to the architects for safeguards, robust buffers, and operations for this site. The committee continues to use the word concept, but even at the concept stage, the following is required: clear and enforceable reasonable standards/guarantees as to this building's operation. Selected plans with dimensions for buffers to the abutters' homes and property. This includes the location of this building, outside patios, activity areas, and other site improvements. Scaled plans with elevations to show how this building, outside patios, activity areas, and other site improvements relate to the surrounding abutters' homes and properties. Confirmation that sidewalks and any infrastructure is still on public right-of-ways or public land and plans with this information. According to the PNC at their 8/24 February 2025 meeting, the Town Council is responsible to address the intensity and exact usage of this property. The Town Council should be reviewing and considering the above items. It should not be left to the first selectman or any committee to operate this building on an ad hoc and arbitrary basis. I recently received an email from the district-run Town Council members suggesting that anyone who is concerned with the Parks and Recreation activities engage in conversation with the Parks and Recreation Committee chairman. Why hasn't the Parks and Recreation Committee chairman attended the Community Facilities Building Committee meetings and presented what community activities are planned for this center? To date, we have only seen the senior center staff who have spoken about senior activities and have alluded to some community activities. Weekends, late nights, and noisy activities do not belong in our quiet suburban neighborhoods. Our suburban neighborhoods have a right to robust physical buffers, which are being minimized in committee discussions and options. The proposed senior/community center schemes house a gym and/or pickleball courts, a meeting room that can hold up 200-plus people, and additional smaller rooms. Different schemes have outside areas, including large outdoor patios, open grass areas, and rooftops for activities. What prevents this building having full recreation programs and events for 200-plus people anytime and any day? What prevents the outside areas from being used for any time and any day for bands or any other type of outside activities? It is irresponsible to proceed to a referendum with these open items and questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Sherry Boyd.
Sherry Boyd, 16 Pinehurst Street. In a world where too many things right now don't make sense, I don't understand why the building committee insists on adding something else to that pile. I do understand that they were given an assignment long ago that has evolved a couple of times, and the committee has been renamed and redefined, but at this point, no one could have predicted what would be happening in our country, and doesn't it make sense to take a breath? The answer for the Grace Church property is to preserve it. Leave the Grace Church 5 standing as one of the most beautiful sites on Main Street. Make the church into a pickleball court or the Long Hill Historic Center, and designate the cleared land a much-desired community garden. Donate the multiple properties along the valley to the Pequannock Valley Wildlife Area. That is a solution that will get votes. What the seniors need right now may be a short-term, much less costly solution. with a quicker turnaround? Why doesn't the town take down the classroom-filled portion of Priscilla Place and put up a gym/multipurpose room on that space? I think if you did a poll among residents, you would find that the majority want an indoor pool. So it truly makes no sense to invest $30 million or close to that in a building that is more than what seniors need and less than what the town needs on a property that's too small for what residents need. When the time is right, revisit a facility that gives the majority of residents what they're hoping for and pay a little bit more for a Parks and Rec, aquatic, and senior center on a property with natural buffering or in an area that doesn't have neighbors' lives turned upside down and the solid rock ground needing to be gutted to make it work. What the building committee is proposing is not only aesthetically offensive, but an insult to the intelligence of Trumbull residents. It makes me wonder if that most recent blocky building might be the committee's way to try to force the town council back to the bigger one that looked like a Hampton Inn from the back, but at least it was generically tasteful. Please choose humans and the environment over development and votes. Please tell them no thank you on all of their proposed structures. Wrong buildings, wrong time, wrong land.
Our next speaker is Karen Bollerts.
Go, Karen.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Karen Bollert. I live at 32 Fern Circle. I'd just like to state personally that I am in favor of the original proposal. And I was asked this evening to read a letter that was shared with all of you, and it is from Gerard Gregory, and his address is 45 Plymouth Avenue in Trumbull. And what he has shared with you and would like to be read tonight goes as follows. Every meeting of the town council begins with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. This shows national pride and a wonderful way of starting a public meeting. The pledge ends with these three words, justice for all, which is what the town council should be doing as a representative of its citizens, including the senior citizens. This is a very hollow pledge for the members of the town council who voted against bringing the proposal for the new center to referendum at the April 7th town council meeting earlier this year. Where was the justice for the senior citizens who have faithfully paid taxes without complaint and receive very little benefit in return? The town budget spends over $100 million for education every year. This occurs year after year with no scrutiny of spending, such as it was with this current senior center project. Where was the scrutiny for the $142 million that was approved for Hillcrest? The original proposal of the senior center is a recommendation of a one-time spending of only $32 million. This is a one-time expense. It would add only 1.5 cents to the tax dollar, and it will have a limited payoff time, versus the 70 cents per dollar being spent every single year for education, and this will continue forever with increases, and these are never scrutinized. Where is the justice for the seniors here? So before the town council meeting, all the members voted unanimously in favor of the proposal, which took over a year to thoroughly and diligently create. They pulled together a plan that would meet the present and future needs of Trumbull's present and growing population. No other building proposal was ever defeated in this self-serving, underhanded, and selfish way. It was this shameful act of political bullying and a slap in the face of the building committee, whose entire membership had voted in favor of the proposal being presented on both the architect's design and funding. Shame on the hypocrites to dismiss the needs of the town and its seniors for personal political gain. Where was the justice here? Shame on the hypocrites who voted yes in committee and then turned around and voted no on April 7th. It is my hope for the seniors and justice for all is that the original proposal, design, and funding will be the option placed on referendum. This would be justice for all. And it also should be noted, as other people had mentioned, seniors represent 46% of the voting population of this town. This is enough voting power to sway any Trumbull election or referendum. If we do not find justice in the referendum to build the new senior center as recommended, we will find justice at the polls in the November election. Respectfully submitted, Gerald Gregory, 45 Plymouth Avenue, Trumbull. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bullock. Next speaker is Rich Kroll.
Rich Kroll, 34 Wood Avenue. I'm a member of the Community Facilities Building Committee, also an alternate on Planning and Zoning. Going to be speaking on the Senior Center, trying to keep it brief. I joined the committee in January 2024 when we were operating under a resolution from a previous town council. The edict of that was to design a senior and a community center facility. I think the Grace Church is a good location. It's centralized in town. It's near Town Hall. It would be nice if the lot was shaped better, but it's been made to work even though it's a tight fit. The committee originally approved a 2-story, 30,000 square foot building that supported all the senior center programming, including a controversial middle school sized gymnasium. I don't know how many times I reiterated in the building committee meetings that we're operating off the existing resolution, and if people don't like it, they need to tell town council. As a result of a lot of feedback, town council provided a new resolution to present 3 options to reduce size and cost of the project. As a result, the committee revisited the design, and the architects came up with creative ways to reduce or eliminate excavation and size while maintaining all the requested programming, including 2 pickleball courts, a game that's been played for a very long time at the senior center, long before it was popular with the general population. The delay has been beneficial because we have the benefit now of the bore testing results that we didn't have before, indicating there was going to be a lot of rock to remove and also groundwater at the lower levels. They say it can be dealt with, but we know about the water at the current place, right? I support option 7 from our last meeting. I don't know if that's what it's going to continue to be called or not. It requires little or no excavation, provides space for all the senior programming, including 2 pickleball courts. And although it's still going to be a very disruptive process for the neighbors, if it gets approved, reduces the construction time from approximately 18 months to 12 months, much less excavation, moving of excavated materials, and no blasting. Last thing I'll say is I like to save money, but I'm also an advocate to spend money where it makes sense, and I think municipal buildings should be made of brick, stone, and other long-lasting, low-maintenance materials. Let's not be short-sighted on building materials or structure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kroll. Next speaker is Dawn Roy.
Good evening. My name is Dawn Roy. I live at 20 Edgewood Avenue. I'm a resident living next to the Grace Church property and an abutter to said property. My family has lived in this residence since June of 2002. As I have stated previously, we have continued to enjoy the peaceful quiet of our home and our neighborhood. This has also extended to the occupancy of the use of Grace Church. As I have also stated in previous meetings, my husband and I continue to support what we believe is a reasonably sized proposal of a senior center at the Grace Church site. As I have also stated previously, we do not support any other use of the structure, such as community usage outside the hours of the proposed senior center. I have regularly attended these meetings, and I have listened to statements being made by my fellow neighbors, senior citizens that support this plan, especially the original one, members of the committee, and other individuals. what I continue to hear in these discussions centers around the needs and wants of the seniors or others that work on their behalf. Additionally, the proposed plan options present how the residents of the town, you all, will benefit from the community center aspect. What I find to be unfair and rather confusing is why the needs and wants of other tax-paying citizens of the town are being presented as more important than the needs and wants of the individuals who will be living literally next to this structure that is built, whatever it is. I would argue that our needs and wants should be paramount, as we, the neighbors, will reap the negative benefit of any proposal. While seniors and other members of the town can come and use the facility for pickleball, a meeting, whatever, when you're finished, you can go home to the quiet and comfort of your home. That's lovely. We, the neighbors, will not have that same quality of life. We will first endure the destruction of the current property, if that's the plan, potential excavation, debris fallout, poor air quality, including potential toxins, terrible odor, noise and light pollution, the constant coming and going of cars, delivery trucks, people, first responder vehicles, and the list is on and on. In short, we don't have the option to come and go. At a previous meeting, a gentleman stood up and stated that the committee has spent hundreds and thousands of dollars, a ton of money, he said, to address the neighbors' concerns. I ask again, the committee, the town, whoever, what exactly has been done to address the neighbors' concerns? Please clarify, what money? How much? Exactly what has been done? It has been stated that you feel you've done a good job with this. Please provide concrete examples, because I'm unaware of them. Nothing in any of the recent plans discusses how these plans will benefit the neighbors. It has been quite some time since proper barriers or buffers have been discussed. I don't understand this. It is blatantly obvious no one is standing up for the neighbors. Why not? Where is our protection? What I also can't understand is how anyone can make a decision that puts one group of people's needs over another. Why is my life, my home, my peace and quiet, my property value less important than the seniors or any other community member? This is shameful and disgraceful. I am dumbfounded. I will say it again. Why do we not matter in any of these proposals? It has also been stated that the committee has no responsibility for the hours determined by the proposal. Well, I disagree with that. The fact is, if you know what you're proposing, you know what the hours are going to be if it is outside that of the senior center. Those of us asking for fair compromise and consideration respectfully request that you begin to include us in ongoing proposals that include and address our rights as Trumbull citizens, our needs and our wants. Lastly, let me say this. You will put us through hell. Those of you who support these plans, especially the community center aspect, are knowingly and deliberately going to cause serious harm to the families and the properties that live next to this property. We will live with nothing short of a nightmare that is irreversible. If you say otherwise, you're either in denial or you simply do not care. If you disagree with what I'm saying, prove it. Show the neighbors who you are and what you're going to do to support and protect us in these proposals.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. Our next speaker is Dawn Contafio.
Good evening. I'm Dawn Contafio, and I live at 72 Tate Road, and I'm also currently a member of the Community Facilities Building Committee. Our committee has been established for the purpose of site selection, project feasibility, and building renovation or repair of a public building within the town of Trumbull. I believe we as a committee have complied with the building committee rules and up to section 11, and is now up to town council whether this project moves forward and how this will look. I would like to thank the following people: Tom McCary, Rocco Petiti, QA&M, Rena Baclar, Director of Economic Development, Kevin Bova, Director of Purchasing, George Estrada, Director of Public Works, Michelle Jacob, Director of Human Services, Michael Lombardo, Chief of Police, the Police Commission, Bill Marr, Town Engineer, and the Engineering Department, Megan Murphy, Fire Marshal and Emergency Management, Vicky Tesoro for Selectmen, our town attorneys, town council members, and any other departments that I've missed. Thank you, and a special thanks to Lori Hayes O'Brien, Chairman, for all her work that she has done over the past 10 years. I'm speaking tonight as a community member in favor of the original design of the senior center. This proposal is brought forward to meet the needs of the current and future senior participants who would like to engage with others in our community who share common interests. I believe that the current senior center doesn't meet the needs of our current senior population and would like to see safer and expanding programming for our aging population in town. Many of us as seniors have supported the town over the years that has passed town budgets, done maintenance on our roads, made improvements to our schools, outdoor spaces, including fields, tennis courts, baseball, football, and soccer fields, as well as planning facility and swimming facilities for all ages. I support our senior population and don't see a segregation of community as I support this project, but see it as an investment in our community. We will hopefully all be seniors at some point in our lives, and we are all members of this town, and together we should look out for each other, work together for the betterment of the town. Please vote yes to the original proposal of the senior center design, and let the public have a choice to vote yes or no, and have a voice in the process. And I would also like to agree with our fellow committee member, Richard Kroll. He did make some really good points about option 7. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is, I think it's Diane Lillicrack. If I said it wrong. You're going to defer? All right, thank you. Elizabeth Wecker, our next speaker.
Hi, Elizabeth Wecker, 16 Edgewood Avenue. I have to say, I'm so saddened that the desire to build a new senior center has digressed into a divisive political hot potato, one where the seniors are viewed as the good guys pitted against the selfish NIMBY neighbors who are locked in a battle for what's right against what's deserved. Not only are party politics in full play here, but the notion that the desires of the two groups are mutually exclusive is false. The majority of the neighbors who stand in opposition to the proposed location are in fact seniors themselves, some who belong to the current senior center and know firsthand that a new center is warranted. We have supported our town with taxes for decades and originally supported the idea of a senior center before the real scope of the plan for the site became clear. The fact that the building proposed for the Grace Church site remains too big for the neighborhood and also too small for the needs of the seniors and community hasn't changed. Instead of ruining an established neighborhood with a large project, why aren't we finding a truly suitable location, one that can accommodate a large community center and senior center without infringing on anyone's backyard? Why must one group be the winners and one group the losers? I believe that the preservation of our neighborhood isn't too much to ask and is a request we are entitled to have honored. So I ask you tonight to vote in favor. Please vote in favor of finding the right location. Please vote in favor of spending the money wisely and giving the community a true gathering place. Please vote in favor of fulfilling our seniors' needs. Please vote in favor of common sense. And to accomplish these ideals, I ask you tonight to please not vote in favor of this project at the Grace Church property or to advance it to referendum. Please take the time to build it in the right location where it will serve all of Trumbull now and in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wecker. Next speaker is Laurel Walsh.
Laurel Walsh, 5944 Main Street. Members of the council, I want to echo the many voices in our community have made it clear Grace Church is not an appropriate location for the proposed senior community center. As you consider revisions to the referendum language this evening, I remind you that any significant changes to the project's design require an additional 824 planning and zoning hearing. All three options presented by the Community Facilities Building Committee reflect substantial modifications to the building's footprint. Option 7, in particular, expands the facility by approximately 10,000 square feet, alters the parking layout, shifts the building farther back, and changes its overall shape. To move forward without resubmitting these revisions to planning and zoning would set a dangerous precedent, one that implies significant design alterations and future expansions can bypass the oversight required by our town charter. There are also critical infrastructure concerns that remain unresolved. At the recommendation of the traffic study, planning and zoning required the installation of sidewalks as far as needed for safety. However, this requirement has not been fully addressed. Residents, particularly abutters, have right to understand how changes to property lines, landscaping, and neighborhood aesthetics will impact their homes before being asked to vote. Furthermore, the cost of sidewalk installation is not itemized in the current bids. According to the town charter, any component of larger project must be included in the total estimate. Therefore, the sidewalk expansion must be incorporated into the senior community center's overall budget. Additionally, the town has not provided projected figures for operational costs, ongoing maintenance, and staffing, critical details needed for an informed vote. Without this information, residents are being asked to approve a multi-million-dollar bond with no clear understanding of the long-term financial impact. Regarding my property, I hold a legal easement. However, the current plans do not provide a buffer at my lot line. What are the town's intentions moving forward? Will I receive the reserved parking stipulated in the easement? Who will enforce that provision? With only 156 parking spaces planned for a 30,000 plus square foot facility, parking overflow into the neighborhood is inevitable. A recent memo from the existing senior center on Priscilla acknowledged ongoing parking issues at their location. We can only expect those problems to worsen here. I have also learned that a lawn and outdoor gathering space is now planned directly next to my yard. That is not a thoughtful design. It is dismissive and disrespectful. I continually hear, seniors deserve this. I agree, seniors deserve a quality facility. But what about the families who live here? Why is our neighborhood being treated as expendable? Why are our privacy, safety, and quality of life considered less important than this development? Finally, I urge you to take a step back and consider what Trumbull truly needs. A senior community center may be part of the vision, but is not the entire solution. For instance, we still lack an indoor pool, a vital resource for our swim families who need year-round access to a safe and accessible facility. If this project proceeds as currently proposed, will there be any remaining space or resources available for addressing other pressing community needs? There are numerous costly projects already looming, including sewer upgrades, town fuel stations, the Board of Education's master plan, and Trumbull EMS, to name a few. Let us fund completing the Veterans Center and consider designating senior hours there as an interim solution while we identify a more suitable location for this center. Suppose this project is to go before voters. In that case, they must be fully informed, not simply asked if they are supporting bonding millions of dollars for a senior center, but provided with complete transparency regarding scope, costs, and consequences. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Walsh. Next speaker is Amanda Harmon.
Thank you all for taking the time tonight. I have been told by some folks in town that I really shouldn't be involved in these conversations as I haven't been here speaking loudly for the last 3 years. And they're right in one sense. I wasn't deeply involved until this project landed in my neighborhood. But this is not a NIMBY issue. In fact, it's quite the opposite. My concern is not just personal, it's economic, strategic, and town-wide. Long Hill is one of the more modest and diverse and affordable neighborhoods in Trumbull. I personally think that's why it's much easier to try and force us into this than other areas. Concentrating a major public resource like a senior and community center here may feel and appear equitable on the surface, as most policy does, but it misses a broader opportunity to balance things in this town. Placing a flagship public facility in Long Hill impacts the folks who live here and the literal environment in which we live. You are already taking your life in your hands walking to Town Hall from Walker Road. The benefits to property values in this area would likely be a loss, whereas a location in Nichols, Tashua, or Daniels Farm could stabilize already strong home values. Beyond location, the financial burden of this project is real and growing. Renovating this site could easily cost $30+ million, especially if there are unexpected issues like asbestos. And we're not just talking about one-time construction costs. We need to keep in mind, how are we funding the long-term operational and maintenance costs? And let's not forget who some of those taxpayers are. Fixed income seniors like my parents, who will still see their property taxes rise to fund it. Folks who are already going to be impacted by the financial instability being created by a big, beautiful bill at the federal level. It's not just financially unwise, it's fundamentally unfair. At this moment, Trumbull risks locking itself into a costly, suboptimal decision, a project that sounds impressive but fails the test of smart and sustainable planning. It is still missing key elements that your constituents have been loudly vocal about in a community center, such as an indoor pool. This is our one chance to build a true centerpiece for the community. Pursuing this scale of project on this property will cost us far more in the long run, limit the center's impact, and leave future administrations to fix what we could have gotten right today. Meanwhile, we have other areas of town languishing. The Trumbull Mall is struggling. We have the asbestos-filled vacant lot with no clear timeline about what is next. Neighboring towns are actively expanding their commercial tax bases to ease the impact of their citizens, while we seem to be adding burdens to ours, burdens that residents have loudly and clearly said they can no longer absorb. We have other options. St. Joseph's is now, available. It would make a far better location for this center. The existing parking lots and driveway are already designed for traffic, including a nearby stoplight, especially given the expected 2 to 3 times growth in membership and usage of a mixed-use center. And it would require less money and less modification than the Grace Church site, which is frankly too small for what this project is meant to become. I urge you, let's not rush forward simply to move forward. Take the time to make the right choice, one that honors our seniors' needs, protects our taxpayers, and builds something that truly works for all of Trumbull. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harmon. Next is Judith DeGraffayer. Did I get that right?
Hi, I'm Judith DeGraffenreid at 323 Unity Road. I would like to offer up, as a senior citizen, I would like to offer up a different perspective on the needs of seniors. I'm 69 and I'm considering retiring. And, I love it here in Trumbull. I've lived here since '98. But if I retire, then I'm going to have to move, even though I have a good job. But the taxes keep going up every year, keep going up. It never stops. And I'm sure the people here who want money invested in a pickleball court to let the taxes go up to fund that, maybe they're very, very comfortable. But I'd like to point out there is a crisis in this country with senior citizens losing their homes due to property taxes. And don't tell me that's not happening here in Trumbull. And I think it's very disrespectful to keep raising taxes without any thought of the burden you're putting on people. Now, I would like to point out what we're being faced with. We have high property taxes that keep shooting up. My auto taxes went down for 2 cars, $10 over 2 years, even though my car is 155,000 miles, right? It never ends. We have high property taxes, and what you're doing with this proposal, you're in addition, at the same time, saddling us with high debt. And how much is this bond maturation going to cost us? And this isn't even a decent project. No pool. This town doesn't even have a pool. Maybe we should, and I'm not going to go too deeply into this project, but I'm going to say I think it's selfish to not even consider the whole town need for a pool if you're going to spend that money. But the main point is we need to be more responsible about our resources. We need to be more respectful to the taxpayers. And I also want to bring up another point, which I don't know a lot about, but I guarantee you I will be investigating further. What about the general fund surplus? We have the sewer coming up. We have this big sewer issue that we're going to be responsible for on top of everything. What about the sewer net fund position? What about the capital projects fund? In 23, 24 isn't posted on the website yet. We had over $42.8 million in available and unrestricted financial resources. And even though we have that kind of money, Trumbull still raised the mill rate. This is disrespectful. It's irresponsible. And I'd like to say, somebody here was talking about justice. Well, I do not consider justice to be a pickleball court paid for by other people, whether they want to or not. I think justice is addressing and facing the fact that there's a crisis in this country with property taxes and high debt forcing people, seniors who've paid off their houses, they are losing their houses. And that is, it's not even constitutional. Property taxes are not constitutional, and they are, in fact, an unrealized capital gains tax. How lousy is that? So I would like to say to all of you in the audience who just feel like, it's your turn, it's your time, you earned it. Maybe you're comfortable with the taxes going up and up and up, but you've got to consider you have to face the reality of a crisis in this country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I have exhausted the public comment list. I want to thank everybody for signing up and speaking out. Your opinions are noted, and we appreciate that. We are going to move along on our business agenda this evening. I don't believe the architect for the project is here yet. He is here.
Mr. Chairman, can we take a 5-minute rest break?
Sure.
Just so we can dig in when we get back.
Recess 5 minutes. Can reconvene. So while everybody's getting settled and ready for the community center presentation, we're going to do a couple of other items on our agenda. I'd like to begin with item 3. Ms. Lenzen, can you bring that to the floor, please?
Sure. Resolution TC 30-152. Be it resolved that Vicky A. Tesoro, First Selectman, is hereby authorized to apply the Connecticut Department of Transportation Micro Grant Program for funding in the amount of $5,000 for the purchase of 8 bicycle racks and to sign all subsequent contracts, amendments, reports, and related documents in order to administer and implement the project. Full resolution attached.
Second.
Thank you. Committee report, please. Mr. Dorsey.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Rena Bacalar explained this is a $5,000 micro grant for bike racks. There are no matching funds, but the town is responsible for installation. The town planner collaborated with the Parks Department to identify the locations, and Parks will handle the installation. The locations are Indian Ledge, Twin Brooks, Town Hall Campus, Trumbull Library, and Trumbull Center. Fairchild Nichols Library was suggested as another location. Rena Bacalar noted they can apply for this grant twice a year. Fairchild Nichols Library and the community garden area are 2 other good locations. If the cost of the racks come in less, then they can add to the list of locations. Vote, motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Ms. Bacalar is here. Do you have any update for us? Any questions for Ms. Bacalar? If not, can we adopt this resolution by unanimous consent? Okay, it's adopted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to item 4, please. TC 30-153. Ms. Isaac, can you move that to the floor, please?
Sorry about that. Resolution TC 30-153, be it resolved that Vicky A. Tesoro, First Selectman, and Michael Lombardo, Chief of Police, is hereby authorized to file an application to the Department of Justice Community-Oriented Policing Services School Violence Prevention Program for funding to improve school safety and security, and to sign all subsequent contracts, amendments, reports, and related documents to administer and implement the project. Full resolution attached.
Second.
Thank you. Committee report. Mr. Dorsey.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Rena Bacalar explained she filed the application on 26th of June on behalf of the Police Department and the Board of Education in partnership. They applied for $231,000 worth of equipment with approximately $59,000 for installation, a total grant budget of $290,630. There is a cost share on this grant. It is 75% federal share, 25% local share. The equipment directly related to the policing is the installation of a booster at the high school. The booster allows better radio communication between officers outside and inside the building. The booster was installed in either 2011 or 2012. It has failed and needs to be replaced. It is $39,000. The other funding is to put in additional cameras at the 9 public schools. These cameras are in 3 buckets. The first bucket are existing cameras that have gone beyond their useful life and not the quality you can get today. Those will be replaced. The other cameras are currently single cameras to be changed to quad cameras so the view is extended and improved. The third bucket of cameras are exterior license plate type cameras that pick up things outside related to motor vehicles. If awarded, the town will have to match in place. Have a match in place as it goes to the contract. This is a very competitive grant, and expect to hear back in the fall. The police department had to be the lead on the application. The Board of Ed supplied a letter of support as it is required as a supportive partner in the project. Rena Bacalar could not speak to when the booster failed. That would be something the chief or assistant chief could speak to. Rena Bacalar did not know how the match would be apportioned between the Board of Ed and the town. Vote, motion carried unanimously.
Thank you, Ms. Bacalar. Anything to add to that grant application?
No, but Chief is here because Councilman Cinto had some questions regarding the boosters. So I think he's better equipped, no pun intended, to talk about the equipment. If those questions are. And also Kevin from the Board of Ed is here in case there are any more detailed questions from the council. But I don't have anything else to add beyond the report at this point.
Thank you very much. Chief Lombardo, welcome.
Thank you. The report of the booster amplifier failing was about 6 weeks ago, somewhere about there. We thought we might be able to have it repaired and then budget for it in the upcoming budget. It wasn't something that we anticipated to fail that we would have been able to budget for in the current fiscal year we just started. With the company coming out that does the work on the amplifier, they told us that they couldn't do anything to actually put some type of a Band-Aid on it to get us through the next fiscal cycle. So when the grant was in place, I said, you know, it's about $39,000 to replace it. Let's try to get 75% of that covered by it. Right now, school is not in session. Yes, there are people there. We have worked in a, for when school is in session, we have worked in a backup plan to get information out of the school to a patrol car that we have on property 8 hours a day during the school session. So we're not, it's not optimal, but it will work for us. And then as soon as we get the grant approved, we'll purchase the amplifier and have it installed as quickly as we can.
Mr. Dorsey?
Hi, Chief.
Hi.
If the grant is not approved, what is your plan?
I'll have to go and ask for a supplemental appropriation to buy it as quickly as we can. The one thing I might add is that, and I'm not sure if the grant will allow it, but if we can buy it, once the grant is approved, maybe we can expend the money and ask for reimbursement later. That way it's less time without it in place.
Ms. Malazzi?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that I heard outside of that booster that the other elements of it were cameras.
Yes.
Are those all external cameras, or are we talking about any internal cameras inside the schools?
The cameras are both internal and external. I don't know if you want more detail. Kevin can provide that, I guess. I don't know how much of it we like to get into in the public domain. I'm not exactly
Yeah,
sure.
that's fine.
Okay.
I just wanted to have a little more information. That's fine. Thank you.
Ms. Isaac?
Do we know the timing for the grant? How long it's?
So the
when
grant,
period ends?
there's September, October, we're supposed to hear something, you know. They're usually, the COPS grants usually stick to their timelines pretty well. So, you know, we would know, and, you know, as soon as Chief will probably be notified directly because he's the lead applicant on the grant. Chief and I will know immediately when they make the awards.
And then just for the funding, I asked at the subcommittee meeting that I'm not sure how much the Board of Ed will be kicking in per se, but there is in the,
you know,
I know it's not yours.
Yeah, so I don't think that's been decided, who's putting in for the capital match, but there is an upcoming cycle to update our 5-year capital plan. I think Marie is here. But she had mentioned that it should go in the 5-year capital plan, and then it should go in the, you know, the 1-year process. And that starts sometime, I think, in November, that process. So if the council authorizes the resolution to do this and they're cognizant of the match, that's enough for me to accept the grant award, but it then has to go to a process by which the match is put in place before the end of the grant period. Is that right? So
Honestly, I think the Board of Ed, with their $120 million, should advance the $39,000, get that booster going for the school year, and we'll reimburse them when we get the grant.
okay, so we have
I mean,
to.
what's-
I'm not opposed to who's paying. I'm not commenting on who's paying, but there is something in the federal requirements. You can't expend money on a project and then get reimbursed before you're awarded the grant. So Chief said it properly. If we're awarded the grant, okay, while we're going through the paperwork and stuff, we can probably start the process. So if we do it that way, we will have to eliminate it from the grant. You can't make expenditures prior to the grant award. That's standard across most grants.
Anybody else? All right, thank you, gentlemen. We're ready to vote. Can we adopt this resolution by unanimous consent? No objections? Resolution is adopted. We'll move to item 5.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Need emergency
All right, resolution TC 30-154. Ms. Sather, would you move this to the floor, please?
Resolution TC 30-154, be it resolved that $82,000 is hereby appropriated from the fund balance to 010300-1-567702, Public Works Fleet Maintenance Vehicle Repair.
Second.
Thank you. Committee report, please.
Certainly, Richard Infante, Public Works Director of Operations, explained this is for the emergency repairs for the large excavator that does most of the recycling at the Indian Ledge compost facility. It also cleans out easements and anything around town that needs to get done. This machine could not be laid up for a long period of time. The repairs have been done with some preliminary approvals. They assessed the machine before committing to the repairs. It is about a third of the way through its useful life. It is in excellent condition now, because of the maintenance program implemented over time for fleet maintenance. They anticipate this machine will serve them well. They did check the machine model to make sure that this is not an inherent problem. It's one of those odd things that just happens. They needed to get this machine back online as quickly as possible because this is busy season as they try to get everything done while schools are closed. The repairs have already been completed on the machine. There are a couple more tests to do with oil samples, but the repairs look like they are in good order. The repairs consist of multiple parts. They had to take apart the whole machine. It took them 4 weeks to complete the repairs. This piece of equipment cost $300,000. The town purchased it 8 years ago, and it's expected to get 20 years out of this piece of equipment. It was worth the investment to keep it going. There is not a warranty on the work. It was given a clean bill of health. The oil filter, based on the oil filter analysis, the parts have warranties. Vote motion carried unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Dorsey. Mr. Infante, is there any questions for him? No? Okay. Can we adopt this resolution by unanimous consent? No objections? Thank you very much. Have a nice evening. Item 6, Resolution TC 30-155. Ms. Satin, would you bring it to the floor, please?
Resolution TC 30-155, be it resolved that the funding for laboring agreement between the Town of Trumbull and IAEP Local R1-604, SEIU, NAGE, the EMTs and paramedics, beginning July 1st, 2024 and ending June 30th, 2027 is hereby approved.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Pifko, do you have a brief committee report?
Very brief, Mr. Chairman. Moved by Marsh, seconded by Levson to enter executive session at 8:23 for the purpose of discussing the union contract. The motion was carried unanimously. They ended the executive session at 8:41, and the motion was carried unanimously.
Thank you. Our Human Resources Director, Tom McCarthy, is here. Again, this is a labor agreement subject to FOI exceptions, where we would have to go into executive session to discuss it. I think we're all familiarized with the agreement ratified by the union membership. Is there any benign questions for Mr. McCarthy? All good. All right, and can we adopt this resolution by unanimous consent? We can. No objections. It is adopted. Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. All right, let's do item 7. Mr. Wolf, can you bring this to the floor, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Resolution TC 30-156. Be it resolved that the town council hereby initiates an audit of the accounts of the Board of Education pursuant to Chapter 2, Section 10A of the Charter of the Town of Trumbull.
Second.
Thank you. Committee report, Mr. Pifko. I'm sorry, Mr. Dorsey.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Town Attorney Shopik explained this was the process that was followed last time the business manager left the Board of Ed in February of 2020. There is a provision in the charter that allows for hiring of a certified public accountant to do the audit. The next resolution is a request for $75,000 for the audit. The number came from the town's current auditor. It will be put out for bid. Hopefully, when bid, it will come in less. The current auditor can bid. The audit is not required by charter. Attorney Shopik can't tell you why it wasn't done before 2020. It was brought to their attention by Floyd Dugas, who's the Board of Ed labor attorney at the time. For a new business manager coming in, it is helpful to know that the existing books have been audited and the new person can move forward from that point. This audit is different from the annual audit. It is an operational audit on the internal controls, transactions, transfers, supplementals, mainly at main activities. It is in more detail than the annual audit. If the current auditor designs the audit, the town will not have them bid on it. If they want to bid, they will have the specs designed elsewhere. The town has the specs for the 2020 audit, which might be adequate. If the new business manager leaves in a year, it would be a much smaller audit and would cost less. The council will be forwarded a copy of the 2020 audit. It is not yet known how long the audit will take. Vote motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Attorney Shopik?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to, one update with regard to authorization. It's Chapter 3, Section G, does require an audit when a town officer leaves employment of the town, resigns or otherwise leaves, and if it's the finance director, then it does require an outside audit. If it's anybody else, it requires the finance director can do it. The finance director at this point does not have the staff or the time to get this done in a reasonable amount of time. The $75,000, as was reported, is the estimate that was given to us by the auditor. So it's in two motions here. The first one is to authorize the audit, and the second one, that's page 18 if you're looking. So the first resolution is to approve the audit. The second is to fund it.
Which,
No, I know that, but we knew about
which you're telling us under the charter is mandatory.
Yes.
Okay. Questions? Any discussion, comments? Mr. Cinto?
Well, if it's mandatory, why do we have a resolution?
Because only we can authorize the audit.
We're doing it.
We trigger it.
The council needs, number one, the council needs to trigger it. Number two, what's mandatory is that an audit be done, but it would state that it's going to be done internally by the Director of Finance. Director of Finance does not, if the Director of Finance were to do it within the Finance Department, we're probably talking about a 6 or 8 month turnaround. We'd like to get this done as quickly as possible.
Okay, and the nature of the audit, is it financial, operational, or both?
Well, a little
of both.
Basically operational, but with some issues. I know the Board of Finance addressed it. We will, when we put it out to bid, be happy to consult with you in terms of you, Mr. Chairman, because there are some items of financial that we do want covered. But basically, it was, last time was an operational audit, and this time would be basically an operational audit.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dorsey?
Just a question on the audit. If the books are audited every year, annually, what would this operational audit show that the financial audit doesn't show?
Okay, so hi everyone, Lainey McHugh. I'm currently the chair of the Board of Finance. I have some information for you on that. Online is available, and I have a copy here to pass out. This is the actual operational audit that was done in 2020. What the operational audit is going to do is look at their processes and their procedures and how money is transferred, not necessarily the dollar amount. We don't think there's any malfeasance. We're not looking, it's not a witch hunt. When the business manager leaves, we want a clean slate for the new business manager. The timing is that he retired, Paul Hendricks retired as of June 30th, and their new business manager started July 1, and we'd like to make sure that that happens. The charter provides that anytime this happens, it should be done automatically. Because the finance department, and we feel that there's some things with the charter that it should be an outside audit. It's a $130 million budget. We think that there are things that need to be looked at beyond the scope of what the finance department can handle in-house or our internal auditor can do. So you want to make sure that they're moving money from their, for instance, the 205 accounts, which are their special agency accounts, their lunch accounts, those outside pieces. Those are things that, what the procedure is from it going from place to place within their budget. So it would technically be an operational audit. There is another kind of audit. I even wrote it down, Maria, you'll be proud of me. Operational or applied procedures, where you can be more specific and look at certain processes, which would be more with the actual dollar amount. So we want to make sure that we cover the scope of that. I have the actual scope of the project that went out to bid in 2020. It pretty much covers everything. There were a couple of things that we'd like to see tweaked, which should be handled by the council. The reason the council has to approve it is you guys are the ones that have to approve an outside audit. There's no funding in place in our budget. We talked about mechanisms to leave funding for when a department needs to be audited. Yes?
Just to follow up to this, and just I'm thinking about this, if we know that it was just said that if done internally, it could take 6 to 8 months roughly. That was, where are we with hiring Paul's replacement?
They hired a replacement already. The Board of Education's all set, and congratulations to Paul.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he's enjoying his retirement so far. This is not about that. This happened when the last business manager left in 2020. So it's the timing is that you want it to coincide when they start, so they start with a clean slate.
Okay. I still don't see the difference with that. Okay.
Okay. Our finance department is not able to handle the audit of this size at this time. It's a $130 million budget and lots of pieces that go in. They still need to make sure that the operations of town are handled. So that's why we're coming to the town council and asking for the authorization, because you have the purview to spend the money to do that. The audit that was done in 2020 cost about $32,000, I think, if I remember correctly. We asked for an estimate of what it would cost for an operational or applied procedures audit, and they gave us a range of around $50,000, and we asked that the supplemental be sufficient to cover those costs. We think from 2020 till now, 50 to 75 is a reasonable expectation for the size of their budget and the scope of the work. Does that answer your question? Okay. Any other questions?
Mr. Whitmore.
Just through the chair to Mr. Dorsey, in the 2020 operational budget, the information we got back, not budget, I'm sorry, the operational audit, the information that we got back as an education committee, as a council, and the Board of Ed was 67 or 68 recommendations of how things could be done better. And so they really push upon best practices to keep everything transparent and, everything. We did things okay. They were just saying there's a much better way to go about doing this. And so the education we gained from running a more efficient Board of Education was phenomenal. And at that time, the Education Committee then charge the Board of Ed to address each and every one of those recommendations, which they proved to us that they did. The whole process was 5 months, maybe?
I'll pass out this copy of the report so you can see what it was back then. And again, it's available online if you'd like to read it more in depth. You're looking to make sure that their proper controls are in place, not only for their accounting procedures, but also that the proper oversight from the Board of Education as they're implementing their policies financially happen. Okay.
We have any other comments or questions while you're using that? The authorization of the audit. Item 7, 30-156. Nothing further? Then I will call for a vote. Since this is mandatory, can we adopt this by unanimous consent? Any objections? Okay, resolution is adopted. We'll move to item 8, resolution TC 30-157. Ms. Cologne, can you move this to the floor, please?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Resolution TC 30-157, be it resolved that the town council, that $75,000 that $75,000 is hereby appropriated from the general fund to 01010000-522202, town council services and fees professional.
Second.
I note in the committee report there was nothing but a vote. It was unanimous to recommend it. So any other questions or comments? Hearing none, can we adopt this resolution by unanimous consent? Hearing no objections, it's adopted. We'll move to item 9, resolution TC 30-158. Mr. Buswell, we move this to the floor, please.
Certainly. Resolution TC 30-158, be it resolved that the town of Trumbull hereby defers the implementation of the reevaluation of real property required for the assessment year commencing October 1, 2025 until the assessment year commencing October 1, 2026. Full resolution attached.
Second.
Thank you. Do we have a brief committee report?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. The Connecticut General Assembly has authorized the deferment of the implementation of the reevaluation of real property required for the assessment year commencing October 1st, 2025 until the assessment year commencing October 1st, 2026 for the town of Trumbull. And whereas such deferment must also be approved by the town council, therefore it be it resolved that the town of Trumbull hereby defers the implementation of the reevaluation of real property required for the assessment year commencing October 1st, 2025 until the assessment year commencing October 1st, 2026.
So this is a matter that we took up last month. We approved it unanimously, only to find out that the governor was preoccupied with some other legislation and never signed the actual legislation that allows us to do this. So we're going to vote it again. Is there any discussion or question? No? Can we adopt this by unanimous consent? Okay, and hearing no objection, it is adopted. We move on to item 10. No, we'll do them later.
Mr. Chairman, do we want to go through items 1 and 2, or?
No, we'll do those later.
Thank you.
The first shall be last, and the last shall be in the middle. All right, resolution TC 30-138. Mr. Mecca, would you bring this to the floor, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Chairman. Excuse me, if it's a bonding resolution, I think we need a,
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, I will.
need a motion.
I got
Motion
it.
to waive the reading.
I got it right here.
Okay.
All right. Mr. Mecca, will you make a motion to read the title of the bond resolution in its entirety and request waiver of the reading of the remainder of the resolution, but incorporating its full text into the minutes of this meeting.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to read what you just said.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Thank you. We need to. Can we approve that motion by unanimous consent? Any objection? I didn't think so. All right, that is adopted. So, Mr. Mecca, would you read the title of this resolution, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Resolution TC 30-138. Resolution appropriating $31,750,000 for the planning, design, demolition, construction, renovation, equipping, and furnishing of a new senior community center and authorizing the issuance of $31,750,000 of bonds of the town to meet said appropriation, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose.
Second.
Thank you. We are going to waive the committee report because we're going to get a full presentation. Excuse me, first we'll hear from Chairman of the Building Committee, Lori Hayes O'Brien, and then we'll hear from the architects, Mr. Tom Arcari. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Seems like everyone is in a very unanimous consent mode, so let's see if we can keep it going. Obviously, the resolution that you just read was from back in April. Since that time, we've also presented with you. You have the approvals that were given to you back in April, but since then we've given you the conceptual plans of the three alternates as requested, the cost estimates for said plans, budget summary, the geotechnical study, and the tax impact and bonding totals. So hopefully everyone had a chance to look at those. I'm going to keep my remarks very brief given the hour, but I'll just begin a little bit about the alternative designs as requested at the April 7th Town Council meeting. 3 alternative designs have been created by QA&M and will be presented in detail along with the cost estimates by our architects tonight. I think it's important for the Town Council to understand that the majority, although not all, of our Community Facilities Building Committee, Senior Center staff members, and patrons still fully support the original plan that was presented in April. We would ask you to still consider that as an option with perhaps some of the value engineering's potential savings be worked into that. Tom will discuss those further. That plan took the good part of a year to develop, and most of us believe it is still the right plan for the center, for both its current needs and future program growth. And I want to stress program growth, not building growth. Obviously, the alternates, though well thought out, will be a reduction in what we had hoped to achieve. In regard to the alternates, though, the overwhelming consensus is that the most favorable is option 7. The creativity and flexibility of that space, in combination with the cost savings realized by less excavation, make it the best of the 3 additional plans by far. I just want to do quick thank yous. I'm going to have Tom and Rocco present any details, any questions. I can come back for if you need some of the more committee details. But I do want to acknowledge the enormous amount of time and effort that's been put into this process by Tom Arcari, Rocco Petito, and their team. They've been creative, diligent, and patient with the numerous tweaks that were requested by the committee and by staff members. A huge thank you as well to Michelle Jacob and Ronnie Morganson, who have been generous with their time and thorough with their input about programmatic needs. I'm grateful for my fellow committee members who have doubled up on meeting times and offered important opinions and necessary questions. There's also many town staff members. Mr. Estrada is here. Marie Pyrus have been a constant source of information for us and very quick to answer my emails, which is much appreciated. And then a final thank you to those town council members who've attended some of our meetings recently. I think it's a great show that you've invested their time into gaining a better understanding of this project. I'd give a special shout out to Mr. Massaro, who's been in contact with myself and the architects to be involved as much as he can with this process. So with that, I'm going to have Tom begin his presentation, and we'll be available for questions.
Thank you. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good evening. Tom Arcari, principal with Quisenberry Arcari Malik LLC, 195 Scott Swamp Road, Farmington, Connecticut. Thanks for having us back. Over the last 3 months, we have put together a significant effort to come up with 3 alternative options as directed by this council to essentially try and deliver the project in a more financially responsible way to the community. And I'm pleased to present tonight those 3 options and what I think was a successful exercise to find some cost savings for the project. What you're seeing here is the site plan for the first option we considered. So when we looked at the different options and the different ways to save money, we talked to the contractors and cost estimators and discovered that the majority of the additional cost was in the site development of the project. Essentially, the first design, the original design, had a significant amount of the program in the basement of the building. And the reason we did this was in an attempt to keep the footprint of the building as small as possible, have the least impact on the site from a footprint perspective. So the gymnasium and a number of the programs, you'll remember, were under the footprint of the building. But that required a lot of excavation, a lot of rock removal, and the estimates were approximately 50,000 cubic yards of material that was going to have to be removed from the site. And there was a big cost to that, to the tune of $3.5 to $4 million for that alone. In addition to that, there were a number of things in the project that were identified as maybe fancy. I hate to use the term over-design because I'm a designer, but sometimes we need to pull the reins back and identify where can we, trim the fat, for lack of a better term. So option number 1 took a hard look at how can we reduce the size of the footprint and reduce the amount of excavation that we're doing. So you'll see here in the site plan, one of the things that happened is the building got a hair smaller north to south, and the building became more rectilinear in an attempt to make it a little more cost effective to build. Additionally, we moved the rear parking closer to Main Street, reduced and eliminated some of the patio size, exterior patio, and eliminated the excavation associated with extra depth in the gymnasium space. As I mentioned, the upper level floor plan becomes very rectilinear, so it's a little more regular to build. The programming all at the upper level is essentially the same as the original design. What we did do, and this was actually the result of feedback from the general public one evening, was we squared off this portion of the program, which used to be an exterior patio. We put program there, removed it from the lower level, and what that did was allow us to make the lower level much smaller. So you can see in this design, everything that's hatched used to be program space under the upper level footprint. So we were able to make the basement significantly smaller. Part of that effort was the direction to remove the full gymnasium, go from a 3 pickleball court gymnasium to a large exercise room that would support 2 pickleball courts. The food pantry and the arts and crafts are here, but by doing this, we reduced the size of the building and we reduced the amount of excavation that needed to be done. This had a resultant cost savings. So option 6, and I'll get into the costs as a summarization. Option number 6 is very similar to option 1, but we tried to take it a step further and reduce the size of the lower level of the building. The site plan is essentially the same as option 1. The upper level floor plan is very similar in configuration, but in the lower level, through programming efficiencies, we reduce the size of the lower level, and you can see over here that the basement retracted from the south foundation wall, and we were able to reduce the amount of excavation a little bit further. This resulted in additional project savings, but this plan, in order to accommodate this plan, we really squeezed in the games and arts and crafts rooms at the upper level. So there were some programmatic sacrifices to make this particular plan happen. For those reasons, it was not looked upon favorably by the building committee, but there were additional savings realized. After option 6, we were really struggling to find another solution, and we sort of worked with the contractors that have been helping us do the estimating, as well as consider some concepts that we heard from the general public, as well as an idea that Mr. Petito had in my office, and that was to eliminate the basement space altogether. So the idea in option number 7 is to eliminate all the program space under the building and add it to the back of the building. So what this does is actually make the building footprint a little bit bigger. But what it also does is allow us to make the building skinnier, so we were able to retract to move away from the north and southern property lines and borders, which was one of the comments we heard from the general public. Could the building be skinnier and longer and create bigger buffers to the north and south properties? Actually, the general public for many meetings had been commenting on, could we make it super skinny and get access on both sides of the building? We still couldn't achieve that, but we felt that this made really good sense, because now what you can see in the site plan is the southern border of the building used to be down here. It moved northward about 16 feet, and it actually fits within the this property line. So now we have the flexibility. You can see the skinny property line. Now we have the flexibility to move the building back away from Main Street. So by skinning up the building, we're creating a larger buffer on the north side of the site, a larger buffer on the south side of the site. We can move the building to the east or the right of the screen, and what that allows us to do is add a whole nother row of parking at the Main Street side of the site, which puts more parking, more accessible parking at the upper level where the majority of the senior programming events are. So that was sort of a realized benefit of this particular scheme. The other benefit is that by building, instead of building under the building and building behind the building, we can build the front building at grade. We move the building backwards, and then we can build the back addition at the lower level. It's almost entirely at grade. So there's just a tall wall, foundation wall, between these two areas, but we've essentially balanced the cut and fills on site by doing this. So I think the total export was now 2,500 cubic yards. So we went from 55,000 to 2,500 cubic yards of export, which was a significant decrease. This allowed us to put the parking at the front of the site, reduce the parking at the rear of the site, raise the height of the parking at the rear of the site, and come up with a solution that we think overall is very positive. In order to accommodate this, the squeezing of the building, this is the main level plan. It looks very similar to the other schemes, but because the building got compressed left to right, some of the programming got shifted to the rear of the building. So you can see the arts and crafts classroom here is at the rear of the building. One of the benefits to this, though, is we've now brought the arts and crafts classroom up to the upper level. It now has northeastern exposure, and it has windows on both the north and the eastern sides of the building. This is one of the criticisms we received not only from the committee and from some of Michelle's team, but also from the general public. So now it's in a better position to take natural light. And then the cafe is at the rear of the building. What you can see here is this is the roof. Here and here, these are the roofs of the gymnasium and additional spaces below. So in this configuration, we can create roof terrace spaces, which are external patio spaces that would support the programs. So there would be a roof patio. The arts and crafts patio, which used to be at grade, is now on top of the program space below and is directly off the cafe and the arts and crafts space. And then there is a patio and egress way off the back of the multifunction room so that there could be covered seating out there. And then we are proposing the rest of that roof area would be a green roof, a sustainable effort for the community. So here's the lower level plan, and you can see that at the lower level, the entire upper floor is now unexcavated. It can be built as slab on grade. It's less expensive to build, easier to build at that site. And then below that are the exercise gymnasium and pickleball area, the access corridor, and then the human services and fitness room. This layout accommodates all of the programming, represents a smaller footprint. We're now at 27,270 square feet in lieu of the original scheme, which was about 30,000 square feet. Most of that reduction was removal of the gymnasium, but this is now reconfigured. And then there is a small entrance patio at the rear of the site. Here's an image of what the massing of the alternate schemes would look like. For the purpose of this exercise, we did a massing study for option 7 because at the time it was generally the preferred option of the building committee. You can see that the building remains a one-story building, that there is still the roof well on the building that will hide all the mechanical equipment. We still have the drive-under porte cochere at the front. You'll notice that some of the value engineering items, including the large clerestory cupola, have been removed. And you can see that there's now parking, 2 aisles of parking at the front of the building. This is a view of the back of the building, which helps demonstrate how the gymnasium area, pickleball courts, and the lower level programming are built on grade at the lower level, and then it steps up at this line. And then this is just a view that shows what the architecture will be like. It still maintains a one-story architectural aesthetic with residential detailing and matching the massing of the other structures that are on Main Street. Here's a view from the entranceway to the site, showing the porte cochere, and you start to get an idea of what the access to the rear of the site will look like, and on the left edge, the buffer to the northern neighbors, which would include some retaining wall and a fence. then this is a view from the back of the building, again, showing what the height would be. This is a diagram that we put together for tonight's meeting. I haven't really presented it this way before. But it's the first time we can show what the massing of the scheme would be like in relation to the existing structures that are on site. And what I really wanted to point out was not only has the building retracted significantly from the south side of the south property line, which is over here on the edge of this parking area. This is the existing parking area, by the way, edge. But on the north side of the site, what you can see here in white is the existing preschool building. So that building exists. It's directly up against the rear of the northern property abutters. And then the church itself is here in white. So the building program itself, the new building, which is in gray, essentially goes no further back than the back of the church, but retracts significantly from the northern buffer. And you can see that the access road, actually, the north edge of the access road is no further than where the existing building is actually going. So our proposed development is moving away from that north buffer pretty significantly. So as a part of the exercise, we took these three design options and we engaged professional cost estimators to put together estimates for the project. Of those estimators, the first one was PAX Group LLC. PAC Group LLC, they assisted in the first estimating exercise. They resulted in the first reconciled estimate for the original building design, so we invited them back. We engaged our professional cost estimator, Pan American Consulting. They put a professional cost estimate together. We also asked a general contractor that we do a good amount of work with to put an estimate together so that we would have a construction manager, a professional cost estimator, and a general contractor put estimates together for the project. As a result, I think we had really good coverage in the estimating process, and we feel really good about the numbers. So this is a construction cost summary of the four options. And I want to point out, this is just the construction cost, the hard costs, the bricks and mortar. This is the cost that if we went out to bid, the contractor would come back with. So the original design option, which was about 30,000 square feet, we reconciled that cost at $26 million. PAC's number was $26,010,000. As a part of our estimating process, we rounded that to $26 million. And that resulted in a cost per square foot of about $867 per square foot. Option number one, two of the three estimators submitted numbers for that work. And you can see that PAC Group LLC, their construction number was $23,907,000. And PAC's, the Pan American Consulting, their number was $23 million, essentially $500,000. So there was about a $400,000 spread between the two estimates, which is a really good number. There's very little differential. So we reconciled these costs at about $23,750,000, right in between the two estimates. That's about $875 per square foot. What's interesting is that even though we reduced the building by about 3,000 square feet, the cost per square foot actually went up because of the reduction of square footage. But I tried to encourage the building committee not to focus on cost per square foot. I know that's something we talked about a lot at the last council meeting where we presented, but to focus on total reduction, total cost reduction, because cost per square foot is skewed by many different factors. And that's something I didn't think was worth getting hung up on. But this scheme, because we reduced the basement, saved about $2.2 million in construction. So then we looked at option 6. Option 6 reduced the excavation by a fair amount and reduced the building size. We couldn't reduce the excavation significantly and keep program under the building. So in order to try and reduce cost, as I mentioned earlier, we compressed the square footage of the building, which created agita for me. The building committee was not happy about that. But it did reduce some project savings because we reduced a fair amount of square footage. You can see this building option was about 26,000 square feet and resulted in a total project hard cost of $21,750,000. So we saved another, call it $2 million, reduced the cost per square foot, but we really kind of had an impact on a negative impact on the program of the facility, and Ms. Jacob gave me an earful. So then option 7 was estimated, and all 3 estimators provided an estimate for option 7. And you can see that Pac Group LLC and Pan American Construction, their numbers at $20,736 and $20,553 were less than $200,000 apart, less than 1%. So we consider this a real success. So I was ready to reconcile costs at $20.6 million. However, the general contractor's number came in about $1 million higher at $21,600. I spoke to them at length about it. That's where they had their sub-trades and estimates. So we felt it professionally prudent to reconcile the cost at $21 million for this scheme. What this demonstrates is that option 7, from a hard cost perspective, is about $5 million less than the original option. But I would point out that options 1, 6, and 7 incorporated a number of add alternates that we removed from the project. The cupola, we went from pavers to paving. Those cost-saving measures could be removed from the original design. Those cost-saving measures were about $750,000. So if you're comparing the original option and option 7, the project savings are about $4 million, $4.2 million. But I think this was very successful because option 7 keeps basically the program intact. The only thing that's really been removed is the large gymnasium. And it provides more parking at the upper level. It eliminates all of the excavation. It eliminates the majority of rock removal, which was one of the concerns of the neighbors. And it saves, let's say, $4 million apples to apples. We felt that this was a successful exercise. Here is an identification of the VE options that we removed from the project. When we originally presented to the building committee some ideas for value engineering, some really we felt couldn't be removed, but removing the cupola and clerestory, that's really an aesthetic item that could be removed. Removing the automatic partitions in lieu of manual partitions was a significant chunk of savings. Removing stone from the rear of the building didn't really affect anything. Removing some decorative ceiling finishes using asphalt paving in lieu of pervious paving, and then reducing the buffer design to the north and south properties, all added up to about $750,000 of savings. Those were removed from the estimates 1, 6, and alternates 1, 6, and 7 costs. This is $750,000 that could be removed from the original design. These are items that could be added back to options 1, 6, or 7 if we so choose to make those expenditures. So, as we went through when we looked at the original project cost, we had to provide the soft costs for the project. You can see the total hard costs were reconciled at $21 million. And then a whole series of additional costs has to be added to the project. Additional geotechnical testing, hazardous materials remediation and demolition, hazardous materials testing, advertising, legal fees, architectural engineering costs, owner's representative costs, testing, special inspections, utility fees, furniture, furnishings, and equipment, and then a series of contingencies and escalation. You will see that this soft cost budget includes construction escalation. If the project is passed on this evening, it will take us about 9 months to get to bidding and construction, because we have to go to referendum, and then we have to design the building, and then we have to bid it. So there's escalation associated with waiting the 9 months. In addition, I pointed out there's design and estimating contingency of 8.5%. That's included in each of the estimator's contingencies. So there's no numbers here. Those are actually in the hard cost numbers. And then there is approximately 10% of construction contingencies. 5% is the CM contingency of $1 million, and another 5% is the owner-controlled project contingency. This would change based on negotiated contract, your contract negotiations with the contractor, particularly if it ends up being delivered as a general contractor project in lieu of a construction management delivery method. This results in total soft costs of $6.1 million for a total estimated project cost of $27,115,000. This compares to the original project cost of $31,750,000. So as you can see, the soft cost changed a little bit based on in this delivery method where the contractors carry their contingencies. The soft costs in options 1, 6, and 7 were a little bit higher because the contractors moved the contingency to the soft costs. But bottom line is the net savings, total project cost is about $4.6 million between the original option and option 7. If you back out the value savings, the $750,000 out of the original option, what that means is that option 7 is about $4 million total project cost less than option 1. So as a result of this exercise, we saved about 12.5% in the total project cost. So in summary, I think that this exercise was a very positive exercise. We were able to find savings for the community, and I'll take any questions the council might have about project options.
Ms. Guadiana, first question.
Thank you very much. Just some logistics questions I couldn't see on there. In option 7, where was the food pantry?
They get moved from the basement upstairs?
It's still in the bottom.
It's still down there and I just couldn't see it? That's entirely possible.
So in this scheme in option 7, the food pantry is here in red, and you can see there's actually an access way, an outdoor space directly below it.
Okay. And would people be able to access the gym without going in the main entrance?
Yes, yes. So there are doors. There are doors directly to the exterior, but they could also come in the entrance and get
Okay.
in.
And then, can you just tell us if the parking space number is the same from original to option 7, or did we decrease the number of parking spaces?
The parking would stay the same.
Same number? Okay.
We just shifted some of the parking from the rear of the site to the front of the site. We still, in all of the options, retain the concept for overflow parking or lawn parking or future growth parking.
Okay. And then in that add-on section that totaled about $750,000, you had $75,000 and you said it was reduced buffering.
That's correct.
Can you explain what that means?
Yes, so in the original design, the project had a very fancy buffer fencing. We had stone piers and sort of custom fencing in between the stone piers. It's very expensive. We had a stone retaining wall. We reduced some of the cost of that by going to unilock retaining wall, which is a concrete block type wall, and using a sort of prefabricated fencing, like a decorative vinyl fencing, to make the buffer between the neighbors. It would still function the same way. It would still have a fully, visual separation between neighbors and the property. We just did it less expensively.
Okay. And then I guess my last question is more for Michelle and just what we're losing, sacrificing between the original plan and option 7 from a programming space, right? Just want to understand here in this setting. I know we've watched committee meetings, but here in this setting, what do you feel like you are gaining or losing between original and plan 7? If you could just help us understand.
So I will try to answer that the best I can. And I kind of had a statement where I wanted to clarify a few things, and that was primarily what it was. So if you guys don't mind if I just read my notes. I don't want to forget anything or leave anything out. But after 9 years of sitting in these meetings, I've come to deeply appreciate the expertise that Trumbull brings to the table. Professionals like our architects, environmentalists, the tradesmen, lawyers, and so on. But I also appreciate and value the experience my staff at the Senior Center, Food Pantry, Social Services, and the Counseling Center all bring to the table as well. Our input is equally important, and we have insight, the kind that comes from working directly with the residents every day and understanding their real and lived needs. I hope the council comes to a decision tonight to put through a design referendum for the residents of this town to vote on. But if I have one last chance to clarify why the original design matters, I'd like to now. The original design was developed carefully to meet both the current and future needs of this community. It wasn't created to be excessive or extravagant. The design was shaped by how the building is actually used currently, along with feedback from current members and staff, and just as importantly, those who don't currently come to the senior center, but say they would if the building felt more modern, functional, and like a place they could see themselves in. Right now, the building is old and worn down. People aren't staying away because they don't feel welcome. They're staying away because it doesn't reflect the community's beauty, who they are, what they need today. If anyone in this room is over the age of 55, ask yourself, why don't you come to our senior center? Because that question is at the heart of why this project matters. We worked hard with the building committee to design the senior center community center, and it's important you know what a senior community center looks like from our perspective. Our perspective meaning human service workers. My staff are boots on the ground. There are social workers, our bus drivers, our clerks, our program coordinators, our therapists. They're the ones every day who see firsthand challenges of these residents, all residents, no matter what age. We know what's missing, we know what's working. We don't just track the data, we see the stories behind the numbers, and we don't just read the research and the needs of this community because we witness it every day. When my team and I look at this space, we see more of a building that will be just a senior center by day and possibly offer parks and rec programs in the evenings. We see an opportunity to create an even better community center than what we currently already have. Yes, a senior center, a community center, you can call it what you want, but to us, it's a place where we serve the community. To us, it's always been a community center, regardless of age. It's a shared welcoming space that strengthens connections across town and is inviting to everybody. It's about connecting generations, supporting civic engagement, of course, being available to everyone in this community that has had a difficult time, and making sure every resident, from kids to older adults, feels welcome. We know that when everyone is included, civic pride grows and people have a place that truly feels like a community. And this is a common practice for all senior centers. Although we primarily serve seniors, we serve everyone. The most important goal for us when rebuilding our senior center was to meet the current demand and needs of our senior participants, but also to allow for growth. We want a center that welcomes everyone. We want to prevent wait lists or programming restrictions, and we want a building that reflects not just today's needs, but future generations. If we build too small now, we limit ourselves for decades, and this is a chance to get it right the first time. I speak with senior center directors on a regular basis, and I know it is the community that makes the decision, and that's how it should be. We understand the process. But when speaking to senior center directors, the day they move into their new building, they say we're at capacity. We should have built bigger. So I think it's important that their words are heard. They're still looking for more space. They're still asking for expansion. They're still not meeting the need. And what made the original design so valuable to us, that original design, you know, whether you can take it and you can still shrink it, make it thinner, bring it out, not excavate, what mattered was there was one room on the first floor that was very large. It was the arts and craft room. And that room to us was an extra space to invite community to come and participate. Right when you walk in, there's this gorgeous space that says, you know, everyone's welcome here. We have Eagle Scouts do numerous projects for us. How do we pay them back? We have no space to offer a small award ceremony. How do we offer award recognitions for the kids in town or for local groups? How do we say, Rotary Club, you guys have done so many, you know, food drives for us. Come and have your annual breakfast at our place. Right now we can't do that, but we need those individuals in our building to support us and to be part of our community. Right now, I fear that if we lose that extra space, the extra space in the gym, which we would call a third pickleball court, we won't be able to have that magical vision that we see of really including community and getting the support that we need. And lastly, it's not just a pickleball court. It's not just about pickleball. Someone made a really great comment last week, or I think on Monday, and they said pickleball is the most popular sport right now for seniors in this country. So why wouldn't we accommodate that? But if you can all just envision for 1 minute not playing pickleball and imagine seniors walking laps around a 3-court pickleball-sized gym, a table tennis, you know, game going on, cornhole, virtual golf, martial arts, strength classes, balance and fall prevention training. We need that space for physical therapists to come in and help our seniors. Those programs are popular and people sign up for them, and we want to include everybody. State of Connecticut has a Senior Olympics. We can't participate. We don't have the space to train. Wouldn't that be great? Intergenerational fitness events, wellness programs. Our average age is 76. If anyone in this room is 76 and over, I mean, I'm sure everyone in this room, to me, seems capable of participating and being active and healthy. We are very active and healthy. People deserve a chance to have that. So all that we ask is that we find a way to include those spaces again, however that can happen. We don't want to lose that space. We want to serve the community. We want to make, like I said, if we want to make the building more narrow, do what we ever have to do, we want to keep that space. So we create something for the heart and soul of this town, one that reflects the town's values and brings everybody together. So, good. Did they
Thanks,
answer?
Michelle.
Okay.
I promise I didn't actually tee that up. That was not planned.
That's okay.
Sorry, I had to take my moment.
I'm sorry, can we ask the original question? I didn't get an answer to the original question.
Well, you want to ask again?
Right,
Can you
so my
re-ask?
original question was around the gains or losses between original and option 7. And my takeaway from Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, the extra space in the gym is of significant value, and that arts and crafts space and size related to that
Right.
is of significant value.
Right. And I mean, it seems silly, taking away one large room makes a significant difference for us because that is now a space that doesn't exist where we can't be flexible and offer great programming.
So are there any program needs lost with option 7?
I would say no. I would say in the gym, yes. What is lost is our ability to serve community groups that serve us, and to us, that is programming.
Ms. Malazzi, go ahead.
Thank you. Just to clarify, though, what we do lose is full court basketball, volleyball. We lose the amphitheater outside. We lose storage, and the buffering. To answer Ash's question.
And we lose all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
just wanted to make sure that we had a different vision than just pickleball and basketball. There's so much more.
Satin, go ahead.
We heard a couple other things that I think are really important. Last week, Tom had mentioned in his experience that he's seen up to a three times the amount of people that currently go to a community center can start going to a new facility, and that would be on a high end, but there's potential there for that. I believe we just approved, planning and zoning just approved a 55 and older community in town. That was in the paper today. So that means more people are either going to stay or they're going to come. And they're all potential participants.
Absolutely.
And then the last thing somebody had spoken about was that they know of people that are going to other communities from Trumbull to participate. You take all those three pockets right there and consider the potential growth that you can see. And we're talking about downsizing. So my next question would be to Maria. Maria, if you can share a little bit about bonding and what that looks like between the original option and option 7, please.
Okay, so the original option was 31 million, and over 20 years, it would be 43,787,500. It would be on a house that was appraised at 500,000, and assessed at 350. It would cost over 20 years, $2,570. And for $1 million house appraised at $1 million and assessed at 700,000 will be 5,140. Now, option 7, you want to go to?
20 years, correct?
20 years. 20 years bonding. You want to
Yeah.
go by month, by
Well,
year?
I mean, can you give us an example in 10 years on a $1 million home here in Trumbull? What would the difference be in tax dollars annually?
Well, I can tell you that in $1 million house, the highest you would pay in 10 years was about $336 a year. That's the highest. And then, there's some years it's $325, $315, but it's about dollars, sorry, per year.
Maria, I'm just clarifying, that's just for this bonding for this
Just
project?
for this bonding, correct. This is just this bonding. And then the other option, 7, if you go on a appraised value of $1 million house, the most you pay on a yearly basis is, the most is $295 a year.
Difference between the two, where, what?
Very small, $40, $50.
Oh, maybe we should do this exercise on a $500,000 house.
Okay, $500,000. The one for the original, the 31 million, it would be approximately $165 a month, year. And on option 7 would be approximately $150.
So $15 difference between
Yes.
the original option.
And option 7.
Option 7.
1 year old.
And that's, well, that would be 1 year.
1 year.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, through the chair, did I just hear Ms. Isaac say it's going to go down every year after that? Is that accurate as well? Thank you.
And I don't know that anything ever goes down. Mr. Cinto, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I have a statement about this. The 2030 bubble is 4.5 years away. As many of you are aware, our town's outstanding debt has now reached $210 million, as outlined on page 132 of the most recent budget. This is an alarming figure, and it's crucial that we confront it. Over the past several years, the town has engaged in aggressive bonding to fund various projects, including much-needed infrastructure repairs, construction, a new school, and other essential services. While these investments were necessary for the growth of well-being of their town, we have unfortunately bonded more than we have retired, adding debt burden year after year. This model is simply not sustainable. The new school we bonded is $140 million, which will be reimbursed by, we'll get 44% back on that. This particular building would be $27 million. Our sewer contract with Bridgeport, which hasn't been resolved, we are going to be required maybe to pay repairs on their infrastructure up to $200 million. And other school projects pending for the future that has been brought up by the Board of Ed is another $400 million. The 2030 pension obligation peak in 2030. So it may be $15, but you add all that up, it's going to be way more than $15. Our flat grand list growth. The mall, bankrupt. All this is going to add up. It's all going to add up. And in 2030, when that pension obligation hits the peak, it's going to be ugly. So when you talk about $15 here, $20 here, it's all going to add up. So I just want everybody to know that that's what we're looking at. So if you say $5 or $10 million here, it'll make a difference. You can break it down to be, oh, it's only $1 here, $1 there. It's all going to come around. Thank you.
For any design questions for Mr. Akari? Ms. Isaac?
Yes, in option 7 is the shelter, the showers for shelter status. Is that still included, or have those been removed?
That's a good question. I believe they are. Ooh, I'll have to go back. I don't see them in this diagram, but the intention is, yes, that was a request of the Public Services Director.
Can it be fit into this, or this has to be somewhat designed?
Yeah, we can fit it.
Ms. Lenson?
I apologize because I've watched several of these on TV, but you've also been here talking to us in committee. So I don't recall when you said it last, but I know recently there was a conversation, Mr. Akari, about storage, and that while storage wasn't marked specifically in these plans for option 7, there were definitely ways to get storage in because there was so many concerns about storage and that it didn't appear, but that these were things kind of actually, ironically, similar to the showers that can be added and can be part of the design as you move forward and really finalize the actual design of the building.
That's correct. That can be fine-tuned. And I would point out in the diagram on the screen, you'll see that every single space in the building has dedicated storage. So the allocation is there. That can be adjusted more or less.
Mr. Buswell?
Hey, Tom. The traffic study, was that based apples to apples based on the usage right now of Priscilla Place? Meaning we've heard doubling and tripling attendance. I'm wondering how the traffic study was done, and if we do double and triple the attendance, what that would do to the traffic flow.
The traffic study was actually based partially on existing traffic of 3 other facilities, but it's also based on the size of the facility and the potential occupants. So it really addresses what the potential usage of the facility is, not necessarily what the minimum usage of the facility is.
Thanks.
Ms. Winchell?
Hi, thank you. You have impervious paving?
Yes.
How will that change the runoff and whatnot?
So when we change from pervious pavers to asphalt paving, what that means is that we have to, there's less infiltration through all the cracks in the pavers. So it has to be collected in storm structures, which you see in any parking lot. It's a catch basin with oil separators and infiltrators, and then it will go into subsurface storage and then infiltrated into the ground.
Would that need to be done if we had pervious pavers?
Yes, but to a lesser degree.
Mr. Wick?
Thank you. Actually, Dan had a question for you, if you don't mind. Yeah, yeah.
Question?
No, I have a question for you.
Oh, you have a question for
Yes.
me? I have a question for Tom.
So, you know, I presume, we generally know, the only thing we're voting on is whether or not there's going to be a vote put to referendum on a bonding amount, right? We can't agree on what a design is going to be, right? It's just a bonding amount that the voters of Trumbull would be saying yes or no to effectively.
Well, the answer is kind of yes or no. Because the resolution makes reference to a conceptual design that QA&M has provided. What you have in the original resolution that was presented back in April that was postponed was made reference to what we call the original option. All right, what we're talking about now is an amendment or the potential for either leaving the original language or an amendment that would change it to one of these options. The final design and we're going to put a dollar amount on it. So if the original one, presumably we would reduce, if we were going with the original one, we'd reduce that from 31,750 to 31 million, because you can take out those what I call bells and whistles, but you have the other amounts that also could be plugged in. Understanding that these are not final plans and specifications. All right, there's a lot of work. Tom said he needs 9 months to draw up final plans, go back and forth, and then ultimately put it out to bid. And at that point, we'll know whether we have enough money to pay for the project.
Well, thank you for the segue, because I want to run a hypothetical by you, okay? So
Okay.
let's say at the end of tonight, the vote is have a referendum on a $27 million bond, which equates to this option 7 design. And the voters say, good, they approve it. And the town moves forward, and I'm thinking about the Veterans Center right now, right? And all of a sudden,
Well, that only
whatever
doubled.
good effort to get it as best they can of a bid, it doesn't come in at 27 million.
Right.
It comes in at 30 million. What are our options then?
Well, your first option might be to have a bit more of a contingency now, so that you kind of hedge your bets on that. But otherwise, no, if you don't have enough money to do it, the way the charter reads, you would have to go back with a new bonding authorization. Unless, I know somebody over here said that I was suggesting that we take it out of the general fund. I'm not suggesting that we take the money out of the general fund. Could it be done? Yes, it could be done, but, you know, from a legal point of view, it could be done. But it would not be something that anybody here would recommend. So it is, the charter says that you have to go to referendum for anything in excess of $15 million, and that you can't break it up into pieces so that no bonding authorization is greater than $15 million. Well, effectively, you would be doing that if it comes in $4 million higher, $3 million, whatever it is, and you don't have the money there, then you would be breaking it up into separate things. And let me just say, and I'll take Jason's question, but you know, this is one of the issues that's come up with regard to the charter provision that requires a referendum and $15 million. And I don't know what the right number is. I think a referendum is a good idea because it gives the public the opportunity to say something. But and that number is supposed to be indexed. All right, so the number today, we haven't done it, but because we've either been way over or we're below. But it's supposed to be indexed, and it's not a cumulative index. It's a go back to the first year. So it's your index over $15 million. But that has put us in the position of coming to, as happened with the Board of Education with the Hillcrest, came to the council, the Board of Finance and the council with a resolution that did not take into account final plans and specifications and what that number is going to be. So we're using conceptual plans because the cost of going ahead with finalizing the plans, putting it out to bid, then coming back and with the bonding authorization is really putting a lot of money out there before you have anything.
That was helpful. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Marsh.
Thank you. Just to kind of follow up on Scott's question and where he was going about sort of guesstimating the amount of money we're going to need to complete the project. We are voting on an amount. We are not voting on a specific design, correct? So would it not make sense to bond or approve a bonding that might approve the 31 million? We don't have to spend it. We don't have to utilize it, but if we don't authorize it, we'll never, this is an amount not to exceed resolution.
Essentially, yes.
So if we set the amount not to exceed too low, we could be hamstring ourselves regardless of what design is ultimately selected.
That's true, and I would also point out that there are going to be multiple opportunities between now and whenever to change the design of the building, to come up with cost savings, it's going to go through the building committee. I'm sure it's going to come back to the council on if not a quarterly basis, more often. So there are going to be a lot of opportunities to work with the numbers and see what it's going to be. But to answer your question, if the project comes in at $30 million, well, let's go the other way. If the project comes in at $27 million and you've authorized $31 million, you're not going to spend the other $4 million.
Thank you. I mean,
I respectfully, I disagree with that discussion. The $27 million is tied to the option 7 conceptual plan. It is only a conceptual plan, and that final or the preliminary plans that come back to council for approval to go to bid early in next year, or hopefully in the first quarter of 2026, will provide detail, and it can change some of the look. It cannot change it substantially. It's because the $27 million is tied to that design. If you try to go back to the original design with $27 million and reinvent it, it will not work. It will cost overrun. Our professionals have ad nauseum explained that to us. I'd also want to point out that in the $27 million, there's at least $5 million worth of contingency, money that is actually not earmarked for any part of the construction or the soft cost. That is a lot of money. $5 million. How about it gets approved for $27 million and the thing gets built for 22? Now we're looking at saving the taxpayers $9 million, $50 a month, $75 a month, whatever dollar figures you want to put on it. I wouldn't belittle any amount of money given, the financial circumstances that everybody finds them in, whether they live in $1 million house or they rent in town. So I respectfully disagree. Whatever the number is, if it's a $31,750 as it's proposed in this resolution, it would be the original option that goes to the voters. If it's a different number, or one of these other designs, that's what goes to the voters. There's no shifting of going to the voters with option 7 or the original option and then changing it completely to something else. There's no ability to do that, and I think Mr. Akari probably would resign the position. There would be no expectation of meeting any kind of budget if you start doing that. That said, if you do go to option 7, and that design saves the taxpayers whatever millions of dollars it is, and does the best for the neighborhood in terms of retracting the building away from the boundary lines, having one level, I think it's a much more practical design, in my personal opinion, rather than having 2 levels where you got to walk up and down. You can walk in any side of the building under this design. I think the architects did an excellent job with it. Mr. Wolf.
Is that for me or for?
Well, I'm going to start with you because it might be a planning and zoning question. But I'm going to hypothetically just piggyback off of Mr. Wick. We voted into referendum. Citizens of town voted no.
Mm-hmm.
What happens to the property?
Well, it's open for discussion at that point. If the citizens of town vote no, one possibility is to try to redesign, if you want a senior building. The church was going to sell it off for high-rise apartments. So if that's another use of the building. We could sell the property, and it could be developed. There are a lot of uses for the property. When we bought the property, one of the reasons for buying it was to save it from that kind of development.
So it wouldn't, I'm just trying to figure out how it would fit in the town's portfolio if it's voted no. But you're saying that we can keep it for something else, or we do have the option of selling it?
We have the option of selling it. There are certain requirements when you sell town-owned property that we have to go through. But there's consideration of selling the Nichols School property where the senior center is presently. If there is excess land, excess property, we do have the ability to sell it. But we would control what happens with the property. Okay.
Perfect. That answered my question perfectly. Right. Thank you.
Just to add to that, we were not looking to have high-rise apartments on Grace Church property.
I understand.
Mr. Lemoyne?
Yes, with respect to this resolution, can I introduce a motion?
Hey.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to amend by reducing the amount of the bond to $27,115,000, wherever in the full resolution the amount of the bond is stated.
Second.
Okay, motion on the floor, discussion. Ms. Malazzi?
I had something that I needed to say before that motion, so it's relevant though, because I'm gonna be just really honest, what keeps me up at night is the residents that came to us after April 7th saying, did we go through this with Hillcrest? Did we require them to go back and save money? Because a 12% savings on a $140 million building is $16,800,000. And when I had to look at those people and go, we talked about that project for 6 minutes in council. And we've been talking about this for months and months and months. And I had to look at these people and say, I don't know what to tell you. So I just had to say it because the people of Trumbull deserve to know it, and it's relevant to the amendment. So thank you.
Yeah, I can, sure. I'm happy to answer that for everybody. So the school building and that project is totally under the purview of the Board of Ed. It must merely come to us because they have no bonding authority. So that's why that design, that preliminary design, I won't even call it a preliminary design, but a conceptual design, and that cost comes to us. This project is a project of the town. This town council has control of this project from start to finish. And, you know, we started 10, 12 years ago on this. That's the difference. It's comparing an apple and an orange. When that building committee for the high school, the middle school, comes to us with plans and a budget, we'll see where that 143 million comes in. But they had experts prepare that conceptual design and put those numbers together. It's very different. Any discussion on the motion? Mr. Cinto.
Also, on the school, you're getting 44% reimbursement from the state. So it's not really 144 million, it's 80-something million, correct?
Right. So Brian?
May I? I'm looking at that hour and people are walking out. I just want to say and appreciate people really looking at the original design. I know it's what most of the senior center want. I know it's what most of my committee wants. I will tell you, of 10 years of me aging into senior citizenship, that I am so grateful that we have another option based on this architect's hard work and input from our senior center staff. I'm not willing to die on the sword for that much extra space if this is something that we really think is something that's going to pass. I heard Mr. Cinto talk about municipal projects that were necessary and much needed. I absolutely think the senior center fits in that list and should rise to the top of it, to be honest with you. 10 years ago, we were talking about really wanting this and needing it. Now we're at need. We are really at need. If we don't decide this soon, at whatever cost this body decides, and I think it's important, I'm glad you brought up, Mr. Massaro, that ultimately you have the idea of the approval of the final plan. We can talk about conceptual, whatever, but all these little details is really going to always come back to this body. If we don't do this soon, we're not going to have a senior center in town. It's that simple. I got a picture yesterday of once the air conditioning got fixed, it became the ceiling falling out onto the basement floor. We are pouring money into a building that is not sufficient. And I think all of these conversations are important, but I think a decision is what's really important. And whatever that takes, whatever compromise that takes, and as long as it's something that we can live with, and I think we can, and we're grateful to have that opportunity, that I really, really urge everyone to be able to move forward with this. Compromise is the word, and some of it is unfortunate, but I think we can still create an amazing project with this, and I think we should all be grateful for that.
Thank you. Any, Ms. Satin?
On the Hillcrest project, we were lucky enough to get a very significant grant that helped us out with that, or that is going to help us out with that. Do we foresee any grant money coming through? I know there's a different process with this than there was with
schools? Where's Rena when we need her, right?
She ran away a long time
Right,
ago.
right, she's so smart. I don't know if there's anything specific yet, Vicki may have more information, but I know she's just been looking, and there is money for senior activities and the other things that are tied to this. I do want to make one point that I don't think has been stressed enough. This is more, it keeps getting called pickleball center, which drives me crazy. This is more than a senior center, this is more community center. Our social services operate out of this building, and they are intense. There is so much going on that we haven't even begun to discuss. So I think that when the people who decide about grants look at all the what happens in a building like this, I think there's a great opportunity for us, and hopefully you have more.
I don't have anything concrete at this time. All I can tell you is we cannot go out for grant funding until we have a project. So this has to go to a referendum and be approved by the town to build the project, and then you can go ask for money, which we intend to do. And certainly, we know Rena's track record of getting grant money. That would be from the federal government and from the state as well. So once we know we have a project, we can go out for funding. Yep.
Great.
Want to ask you something?
I don't.
Another quick statement?
When the first selectman's.
No, go ahead.
Through the chair, may I?
You may.
Thank you. I just wanted to say 2 or 3 things. So one is, there's been lots of comments about operational costs. This is not a new space, right? We already have operational costs associated with the senior center. So I know that there, may be more discussion around programming, but I just wanted to flag that we are already incurring costs related to running a facility of this nature, and those will roll over. The other thing I wanted to say is, we were sitting here and I think somebody said it's a $15 difference or a $40 difference, right? I work every day, and Michelle and I have the good fortune of crossing paths in this human service world, right? I work every day talking about the fact that people are, one emergency away from a financial crisis. And so I don't belittle or take it lightly that $15 or $30 for somebody on a fixed income or somebody not on a fixed income is a huge deal, right? There are, 1 in 5 people in our community who have a hard time making ends meet. And so I think that it is critical that we are looking at these costs. I also think it's critical that we are looking at what do we need long term, and do we end up in a situation where we are, ending up down the road having to put more money into a project to make it work, or missing critical programming, and are there costs associated with missing that critical programming? So there's a fine balance, but I don't think anybody here on our caucus is sitting here saying it's only $15. And I just wanted to reiterate that because I live in that world every single day, and every dollar does, every dollar does matter. So I know that our caucus would like to recess before we vote on this motion. So you tell us when, Carl, but we'd like to recess before a vote.
How much time would you like? 5. 5? Okay, you got it. We'll be in recess for 5 minutes.
I don't know why.
All right, thank you, everybody. I'd like to reconvene. Everybody kindly take their seats.
Also the act.
All right, folks. So there's a motion on the floor to reduce the amount of the bond to $27,115,000. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Mr. Wick?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I don't want to make comment about original option or option 7. Right? We heard from various building committee members. Honestly, from my perspective, from a programmatic standpoint, from a what we want this center to be standpoint, you could argue both ways on it, right? So that's not the purpose of my comment on the motion. My purpose is to comment on what our role is as a town council, right? The voters in town rely on us to vet this type of project and present something that will get something done if they vote yes, right? So if this goes to referendum in November and I'm checking yes on that ballot form, I'm thinking I am going to have a senior and community center sometime in the near future. Here's my concern about the amendment. If the bonding referendum is $27 million, which roughly equates to option 7, I am not confident, even with the contingency, that option 7 is getting built for $27 million. I just don't have any confidence, particularly what we just saw with Veteran Center, that that's going to happen. So what happens then? We heard from the attorney, either it doesn't get built or there is further redesign of the building to come in at $27 million. Well, we heard from the architect what that means, right? I think I heard the term angina was talked about with even lesser costly options. If we as a town council put a referendum to the voters and it doesn't match what ultimately what has been authorized, what is needed to build a center that reasonably meets the current and future needs, we're either not building a center or we're going to cut even further from it, that it's going to be a waste of tax dollars. So I'm voting no to the amendment with the current, as currently listed in the resolution, the bonding amount. I'm confident, whether it be option 7 or the original option, with the craziness of our world today, it's going to get built if the voters decide to bond it. If we cut it too short and we only send $27 million for the voters to decide, I fear that this town council in a year from now, 2 years from now, is going to be having a very, very sad discussion about why the town is either going to have no senior center or a senior center that is really just not sufficient. So I'm voting against the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wick. I guess the same thing could be said if we adopt the resolution as is and we come in over budget. It's bid too high. The result is the same problem for the future council. We ready for a vote on this motion? All in favor of the motion, please raise your hands.
Through the chair, can we do a roll call vote?
You certainly can.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Mike Buswell?
Yes.
Mary Isaac?
I think it's insufficient, no.
Michael Colohan?
Yes.
Bill Mecca?
Yes.
Ann Sather?
Yes.
Jennifer Winchell?
No.
Veronica Lenzen?
Yep.
Richard Wolf?
Yes.
Jason Marsh?
Yes.
Anthony Dorsey?
Yes.
Ashley Gaudiano,
No.
Carl Massaro,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Joe Pifko,
Yes.
Scott Wick,
No.
Joy Cologne,
No.
Steve Lemoyne,
Yes.
Kelly Malazzi,
No.
Tony Sinto,
Yes.
Thomas Whitmore,
Yes.
Nicole Satin.
No.
Carries.
Thank you. The motion passes. Ms. Sather?
I motion to amend the title of the conceptual plan to read Proposed New Senior Community Center Grace Church Property, dated as of June 25th, 2025, prepared by Quisenberry, Akari, Lully, QA&M Architecture, and the corresponding detailed budget scope of work prepared by PAC Group LLC, PACS LLC, and A. Secondino and Son Incorporated with QA&M Architecture.
Second.
Mr. Shopik?
Could you repeat the last part of that, because that's somewhat different from what I had
So it's,
sent over?
it is corresponding with that part, corresponding detailed budget of scope of work prepared by PAC Group LLC, PACS LLC, and A. Secondino and Son Incorporated with QA&M Architecture.
Dan, we have a printout if you want.
Pardon?
We have it printed.
You have it printed?
Just point of clarification, did A. Secondino and Son prepare a scope of work? I thought they just prepared a cost estimate.
Yes. It was
Right,
a
the
scope of-
detailed budget scope.
It was the budget. The scope of, the original, the senior center property, the scope of work was prepared by QA&M. All right, I'm just trying to see if we've covered it. And corresponding detailed budget, and I think scope,
It's a budget. It's a detailed budget scope
I
of
have
work.
a question. Just while you're mulling on that, Attorney Shopik, just a question from the chairman. Is A. Secondino being granted, or will they be granted any work associated with this project? They are a client of mine, and I would have to recuse myself from the vote.
I don't know. All they did was one of the cost estimates for these three options, three new options.
Okay, thank you.
Tom Akari wants to talk.
Mr. Akari?
just cover this,
Sorry, the project will ultimately go to a public bid process. I asked in advance the town attorney if any of those contractors who helped us do the estimating would be precluded for bidding in the future, and the question was no, there was no indication. But they would have to go through the public bidding process. These projects wouldn't be provided to them.
I mean, I will defer to the town attorney, but I don't think that presents a conflict for me tonight, for tonight's vote.
I don't think so. We engaged all three parties to provide estimates for a fee, so they were compensated for the services.
Thank you.
While they're talking about that, are there additional copies of that resolution as amended?
Well, it's just the motion, it's not the.
Yeah, there are
It's just-
additional printed copies
Yeah.
for all of us to see.
No, I don't think I have that many.
I mean, it's all right. I know that people get frustrated when they don't have materials, and so now we're in a similar boat.
There might be more.
That's all right. We can pass it, share, Margaret. That's fine. We can pass. Can we share?
Yes.
There you go. And then we'll share and pass in a second. How's that?
Ashley, I have a couple more.
My steps at 10:40, 10:54.
I don't know. Listen, Tony got mad that he didn't see the 2020 copy of the, Board of Ed on it. That's why it's asking. I don't know when you don't want stated.
we good, Dan?
We are so good.
That language works for you?
Oh, he's changing.
All right, just in the interest of getting things right, bonding is a very particular endeavor. Ms. Ather, are you withdrawing your motion?
I'm going to withdraw my motion and propose a new one. So a motion to amend the title to the conceptual plan to read proposed new senior community center Grace Church property dated as of June 2025, prepared by QA&M Architecture and the corresponding budget as reconciled by QA&M Architecture.
Second.
All right, thank you very much. We have that motion. Attorney
Just
Schomburg.
as it was read, it just said QA&M, and I would use Quisenberry, Arcari, Malik, LLC.
Okay.
And then QA&M then you can use it in the second part as because it's already been referenced.
Yeah, all this stuff is out. Yeah. All right, so you're fixing instead of saying QA&M Architecture at the end, you're going to say
I'm gonna say
Quisenberry.
Quisenberry, Arcari, and
Malik.
Sorry.
LLC.
LLC.
Architectures, LLC.
Margaret will fix it.
Okay, we have a second on that? Second. Thank you. All right, we have the motion on the floor to essentially change the conceptual plan reference in the bonding resolution. Discussion, yes. No discussion, a roll call vote then, please.
Michael Buswell,
Yes.
Mary Isaac? No. Michael Colahan?
Yes.
Bill Mecca?
Yes.
Ann Sather?
Yes.
Jennifer Winchell?
Yes.
Veronica Lenzen?
Yes.
Richard Wolf?
Yes.
Jason Marsh?
Yes.
Anthony Dorsey?
Yes.
Ashley Gaudiano? Carl Massaro?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Joe Pifko?
Yes.
Scott Wick?
Yes.
Joy Cologne?
No.
Steve Lemoyne?
Yes.
Kelly Malazzi?
No.
Tony Sinto?
Yes.
Tom Whitmore?
Yes.
Nicole Satin?
Yes.
Thank you, that motion passes. Mr. Lemoyne, do you have another? No, we don't. Okay. All right, we have resolution TC 30-138 on the floor, twice amended. Discussion further on it. Mr. Marsh?
I believe the resolution needs to be further amended. The original resolution says senior/center. It should be senior/community center.
Second.
The senior slide, the full resolution says senior slide.
Yeah, the full resolution does, yeah.
Then I withdraw my motion.
Stay tuned, however. We may get to that one. Okay. Resolution TC 30-138. Any further comment or question? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Michael Buswell?
Yes.
Mary Isaac? No. Michael Colahan?
Yes.
Bill Mecca?
Yes.
Ann Sather?
Yes.
Jennifer Winchell?
Yes.
Veronica Lenzen?
Yes.
Richard Wolf?
Yes.
Jason Marsh?
Yes.
Anthony Dorsey?
Yes.
Ashley Gaudiano?
Yes.
Carl Massaro?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Joe Pivko?
Yes.
Scott Wick?
Yes.
Joy Cologne?
No.
Steve Lemoyne?
Yes.
Kelly Malazzi?
No.
Tony Sinto?
Yes.
Thomas Whitmore?
Yes.
Nicole Satin?
Yes.
Okay, the bonding resolution has been adopted. We'll move to item 11, resolution TC 30-139. Mr. Foreman, move it to the floor, please.
Certainly, Resolution TC 30-139, be it resolved that the resolution entitled Resolution Appropriating $31,750,000 for the planning, design, demolition, construction, renovation, equipping, and furnishing of a new senior center and authorizing the issuance of $31,750,000 bonds of the town to meet said appropriation, and pending the issuance thereof and making of temporary borrowing for such purpose, adopted by the town council on April 7th, 2025, be submitted to the town electors for approval and disapproval, or disapproval, at a referendum to be held on Tuesday, June 17th, 2025, between the hours of 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern, and that the warning of said referendum shall state the question to be voted upon. Full resolution attached.
Second.
Thank you. I know the committee merely passed this without recommendation, so we don't need to hear that report. This resolution obviously needs some amendments. Mr. Dorsey?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I make a motion to amend by reducing the amount of the bond to $27,115,000 wherever the bond amount is stated.
Second.
Discussion, question, conforms with the bonding resolution. Do we need a roll call vote? Madam Clerk, please.
Michael Buswell,
Yes.
Mary Isaac,
No.
Michael Colahan,
Yes.
Bill Mecca,
Yes.
Ann Sather,
Yes.
Jennifer Winchell, Veronica Lenzen,
Yes.
Richard Wolf,
Yes.
Jason Marsh,
Yes.
Anthony Dorsey,
Yes.
Ashley Garoyano,
No.
Carl Massaro, John Foreman,
Yes.
Joe Pifko,
Yes.
Scott Wick,
Yes.
Joy Cologne,
No.
Steve Lemoyne,
Yes.
Kelly Malazzi,
No.
Tony Sinto,
Yes.
Thomas Whitmore,
Yes.
and Nicole Satin.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes. Mr. Wolf?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to amend the date of the referendum to November 4th, 2025, and adding the language that it should be on all early voting days and absentee balloting.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion on that? It's pretty self-evident. Okay?
It's not necessary, just as in conjunction, referendum in conjunction with the general election, so.
I know.
With the-
Last time we did this came up as a question, so I figured we'd make it clear. Any other discussion, council? Now I'll call for a vote. Do we need roll call? All right, those in favor of the motion to change the date of the referendum, raise your hands, please. Thank you. Anyone opposed? One opposed? Got that? Okay. That motion passes. Mr. Colahan?
Motion to amend the date of the town council adoption of its bonding resolution to July 10, 2025.
Second.
Thank you. Again, another little cleanup. Discussion? Question? Call for a vote. All in favor of that motion to amend the adoption date? Raise your hands. Thank you. Anybody opposed? One opposed? No abstentions. That passes. We have the resolution TC 30-139, the resolution to place the bonding resolution before the people. Any questions? It's twice amended, thrice amended. Clerk likes to put words in my mouth. Sometimes it's helpful. All right, we'll call for a vote. All in favor of resolution TC 30-139 as thrice amended, please raise your hands. Thank you. Opposed? Any abstentions? The referendum is adopted. We'll move to item 12, resolution TC 30-140. Mr. Marsh, would you move that to the floor, please?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Resolution TC 30-140, be it resolved that the town clerk of Trumbull is directed to prepare explanatory text for the senior center referendum question with the approval of the town attorney in consultation with the bond counsel and the council chairman.
Second.
Mr. Buswell?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion. Motion to amend by adding the word community after the word senior and to add the following sentence to the end of the resolution. The explanatory text shall include the option 7 conceptual design dated as of June 25th, 2025 and the related tax impact study.
Second.
Through the chair, I have a
Yeah,
question
I'm sorry.
related to that.
Go ahead.
Just with regards to adding that option 7 language, if there's things like the showers, right, that we're missing from the conceptual design, I think, does that impact adding that language here, right? Because
I don't believe it has any impact on it. The conceptual design is what you saw, and that's all it is. It's, I think Mr. Okari explained that those things, when they get into the preliminary design
course,
phase, would
there's
be
more
added
work.
in.
yeah. I'm just checking, right? Because we had not tied it to a specific plan yet. And so I'm just making sure that those nuances of showers, right, that we're
Right,
not
well-
pigeonholing ourselves. That's all.
No, we're not pigeonholing ourselves, but we are tied to option 7, because that's what's in the bonding resolution.
Not disagreeing with you on that, Carl. Really just wanted to make sure. It was really just a question of
Okay.
if things like showers are missing, does this limit us? And I just wanted clarification from town
Yeah.
attorney or Mr. Carey. I just wanted to make sure we're all good with those sorts of minor
Does it limit us?
adjustments.
Clearly not. Clearly not. Okay,
I wanted to know.
okay.
And I would say between now and early September, if the building committee wants to tweak the concept, you would need to come back to us to tweak it officially.
But I don't think we're talking, this portion of the process, I think, needs to be completed by early September. And then the town clerk has 45 days prior to the election
Right.
to get the
Yeah.
question to the
Yeah.
to the state.
Like I said, early September.
It's the early September is I think it's 60,
I mean,
60 days, 60 days, we have to be completed 60 days prior to the election, so
Yeah.
whatever that date is.
Early September.
Early September, right? It goes along with early November.
Yes.
And I just, could you repeat that sentence that you were adding, if I could?
Yeah, it says, the explanatory text shall include the option 7 conceptual design dated as of June 25, 2025, and the related tax impact study. So the related is related to the option 7, not one.
But we're not having a full,
No.
we're not asking for a full display of option
No.
7 in the, okay,
uh,
I'm good.
Just related to option 7.
Okay. And then did I hear that it was changed to senior community center?
That's in the first part of the amendment.
Thank you.
I knew, see, Mr. Marsh, I knew we'd get back to that.
Carl, once
You-
again,
you were ahead of
prove
yourself.
yourself prescient in your analysis.
All right, so we have the motion and seconded. Any further clarifications or discussion? Not a call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hands. Thank you. Opposed? Any abstentions? 2 opposed. Okay, resolution TC 30-140 as amended is on the floor. Any further discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. As amended, all in favor of TC 30-140, please raise your hands. Thank you. Opposed? 2. Any abstentions? 3? Sorry. Okay, resolution TC 30-140 is approved. We'll go back to the first item on the agenda, resolution TC 30-145. Mr. Whitmore, you want to bring that to the floor, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Resolution TC 30-145, be it resolved that the appointment of blank as a town council representative to the Trumbull Veterans and First Responders Center Building Committee be and the same is hereby approved.
Second.
Thank you. Do you have a motion?
I do. We'd motion to amend to fill in the very lucky name of Miss Mary Isaac, who has graciously agreed to step onto this committee among the many other committees that she attends. So motion to amend to Mary Isaac.
Second.
Second. All right, motion on the floor. All in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. We have the motion as amended. Any further discussion other than good luck? Thank you, Mary. It will be an experience of a lifetime.
All the hard work's been done.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
Maybe get Rena.
All right, the motion as amended is on the floor. I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Opposed? Any abstentions? All right, move on to resolution TC 30-151. Mr. Pifko, move it to the floor, please.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. TC 30-151 to consider and act upon a resolution. Be it resolved that Samantha Miller be and the same is hereby appointed as a member of the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Task Force for a term extending to the first Monday of December 2028.
Second.
So Samantha did come to committee, introduced herself, is excited to join the task force, and we'll be happy to have her on it. Any other questions or comments? Not a call for a vote. Can we adopt it by unanimous consent? Yes, no objections? Good.
Mr. Chair,
Congratulations.
before we adjourn, I wanted to just say that Ms. Hayes O'Brien was very generous with her thanks for a lot of people that were involved in the project over the course of the last decade. And I would just like to say a gracious thank you to Ms. Lori Hayes O'Brien for all of her hard work.
I think the first of many rounds of applause to come. We'll have to wait till November for the next one, but it'll happen. I think our business is done.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. We're on unanimous consent. We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for a long evening, hard work.